get into your physical. It's time to talk some piss and more. We gonna talk about it all. DVD, CD, UHD, VHS, books. Hooray! Who knows, maybe you'll even see the laser disc today. Let's get physical. We wanna talk some physical media. Movies and TV, music and more. Come check out what we have in store. This is a media house stream. It's time for some physical media on FanZcene.
This is a movie I didn't think I'd like as much as I did. I know it was like really popular because it like won some Oscars and whatever, but
Debbie Does Dallas.
You can never have enough physical media.
Well, hello and welcome, fellow followers, back to the Physical Media Show here on FanZcene with the new intro. Hi, Tom. How are you? Thanks to courtesy our good friend there, Tom. He gave me that song, and I gotta say I'm loving it. And I hope you guys loved the new intro. I'm gonna fiddle with it here and there and update it a little better. But I thought maybe that would be a nice little cool new intro. Hi guys.
I'm wearing a physical media shirt. Did you see this?
I see this. Look at this. That is nice. Nice. I like it.
There you go.
There you go.
I like it.
There's two. They're back.
Nice.
The main course
Shirt.
Yeah. I love that shirt. I do actually like that shirt. It's really cool.
What's cool is it's for the for sale version, not the rental version. It was letting us know that it was coming for $19.99.
Nice.
Does anybody know what that would be with inflation now?
Shit ton of money. Math was never my strong suit.
I'd
but
say
I
like
say,
$60 probably at least.
$60, yeah. That's insane. But I do like the shirt. Where'd you get that shirt?
Was it Freight Rags? I think had it.
Freight Rags? Oh, they've got some cool shirts. I need to get to them and get some more. But yes,
I don't know if you can still get it or not. I think it was an Easter sale.
Yes,
Easter deal.
Yeah, because Critters 2 is Easter.
Right.
Yeah. Some of them shirts they go out quick and they don't come back. So yeah,
you'll have to check. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'd have to check on that. But welcome back to the show, everybody, and let's get physical tonight and have a good show and have a good time. And so let's get ready and get to the chat here and say hi to everybody. We have some dumbass named the Rookie Critic out in the chat.
Bird.
You never want to be first in the chat on your own stream.
Number one. It's hours before we went live. I was first.
We tried teaching.
I win.
Like I said, we're surrounded by children. Grand Brad, dork. Welcome, Brad. That's my dude right there. What's up? And what's up, Style Selection? Glad to have you with us. Yes. And we have Taylor Swift, greater than Disney, Star Wars, and MCU, waving hi. How are you? Glad to have you as well. Salute to you, Deleted Steens. Steven, Jack of all trades. Glad to have you with us. Yes, make sure you guys hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And then we have Terry Scott. Hello, Terry Scott. Glad to have you with us. And, of course, drop the emojis if you're a channel member. And what's up, Cowabunga Dude? Glad to have you with us. And hail to you, Brian Barth. Glad you're with us this evening.
Speaking of the fuck Best Buy, did you see that Target come out and said, oh, no, we're not canceling media. We're just shrinking it down like they said back in September, basically.
We're just going to put it on a one-aisle shelf. Oh, boy.
Yeah. I did a video on that, actually.
I was going to say, I thought I saw you did one.
Yeah, they
I didn't mean to interrupt the hellos.
No, that's fine. That's good. They basically should have just said, we're getting out of the business, because that's what they're doing.
Well, right now they're saying, no, it's not going away yet.
Starting to feel like the Jerk. Did you guys ever see that movie?
Yes, I love The Jerk.
It's like our DVD section used to be this big, but now it's here, but not past here, and not below here, but not above here.
Yeah.
So it reminds me of, when he tells you what you can win. It's like,
Yeah.
You
And
know when you're at
the
when you're at
eraser to
checkout.
the pencil, but not above the ruler, or whatever it was. It's
When you're gonna
literally
go
just like a
check
small
out.
section.
When you're gonna check out, you grab a bag of chips and you can grab a movie. That's the movie
and they're also like, and we'll add
Some
more in when
homewares.
it sells. When there's big sales, we'll add more in. But
That's their way of telling us that they didn't get shit out of the deal, or they weren't going to get into the steelbook. And I see like Amazon's really playing it up. In fact, I see that they have Amazon has an exclusive version of Civil War that's actually cheaper than the standard version. It's like, I don't know if I think it's just a cover, because it doesn't say it's a steelbook, just says Amazon exclusive. And it doesn't look like a steelbook. It's just a different cover. So, and it's like $10 cheaper, I think, or at least $5 cheaper. I can't remember which, but like, I just saw it earlier. I'm like, I don't care about the movie, but
yeah, I get you. I mean, and people keep saying physical media is dead. It's just gone in a different direction. That's all it really has at the moment.
And there's some of these steelbooks that are already selling out on Walmart. Like you can't get the Dewey Cox one online anymore.
You're right.
Yeah, I didn't think it was a steelbook runner, but I mean, it's still cheaper for their exclusive version. It was kind of weird.
Yeah.
So it's the movie poster or whatever. And the other one has like the helicopter and all that stuff on it.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway.
Yeah.
That being said,
let's yes. But evening to you, Tyrell72, Ola Ace Hanlon. Glad to have you with us. And Tyrell says nice intro. Runner says new intro. I dig it. I'm gonna fiddle with it a little more and maybe add some different clips.
There's probably enough space there that you could probably just have the Debbie Does Dallas clip play with the music underneath it too.
Yeah, I was going to do that, and that's what I was going to do. But I kind of I thought I'd try that, and then
I'll see what I can come up with. Otherwise, if you need a little bit longer version, otherwise.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. Some people want the Mighty Ducks bit in there.
Yeah, I was going to add that. I actually was going to add that in, but I didn't want to. I didn't know what to do here. I just made.
I know what you mean. I'd say it's good to have multiple versions because sometimes the mood also might be different. That I don't know. You're going for more hype or more quote nostalgia of the show. I thought
maybe I can do an instrumental version, and you can do an end credit scene.
Yeah,
there you go. Exactly. That's what the Mighty Ducks thing sounds like. The music's fading out. We're about to start the show. It's the Mighty Ducks guy, not that.
You could add those. Can you add those into the song, like the Mighty Ducks guy or Debbie Does Dallas?
I mean, if you send me the clips, I might be able to. Let me see what I can do. Otherwise, I can come up with a few different versions of the song. Maybe you can mix with.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
we'll work.
We'll play with it.
Yeah, we'll play.
We'll play with it.
Yeah, we'll play with it till it gets right. Gordon Rogue, how are you? How are you doing, Gordon Rogue? Anthony Draven, glad to have you with us as well. Let's see, who am I missing? Cryum, glad to have you here with us, and Phoenix Knight 08 and Tim Hayes. Let's see who else and John Chipolia. I hope I said your name right. Chipolia. Sorry if I didn't say your name right. I apologize. But greetings to everyone out in the chat, everybody at home. Thank you for joining us tonight on the Physical Media Show, the place to be on Wednesdays. Yes, sir.
So let's get into announcement news. I guess.
Where do you want to start?
Well, we can start with Shrek. We're getting not only Shrek 3 and 4, but an entire collection. And it looks like the 11th of June. I mentioned Civil War already. Now, North by Northwest is getting a UK release. The Alfred Hitchcock Warner Brothers classic. No US date as of yet, but I'm going to assume that we probably will get it. It looks similar to the set we got for Exorcist, so I'm gonna take a wild stab in the dark and say it's probably going to be a worldwide release at the same time. Yeah. Now there's some back and forth on this whole thing with Seven. I don't know if you guys saw this or not.
I've seen a little bit of it, but you can go ahead.
Okay, so earlier the original reporting was that it's not ready yet. The Blu-ray is going to get delayed by a year. Okay, that was the early reports. Then the announcement that it's getting this theatrical release here, and I think the next few weeks here or something like that. So that supposedly pushed the Blu-ray off a little bit. Now I believe Bill Hunt did an update this last week where he says they still expect it to be out this year, which I think is for the anniversary or something like that. Or was it 95 the movie came out? I can't remember.
Let me check real quick because I'm thinking in time frame too.
I think it was 95. But he's still
95.
he's still insistent that this is supposed to be out this year. Although I don't think Warner Brothers has officially said that. Yeah, Hitch Clock. Although I don't think the Warner Brothers studio has officially confirmed this box set yet, but we've seen the images of the 2 different box sets so far. So my guess is they're just trying to hold off any sort of announcement till after this theatrical deal is done. But they did an 8K scan of the film, from what I heard. So,
but I also heard, some of the images that were coming out were bad, and then maybe that was cause for the delay. I don't know. We'll have to see. Right.
I never heard anything about the whole. I mean, I heard I think brought it up, and somebody else did, but I never found anything out about how bad it supposedly looked or something like that. So,
well, Ted, go ahead.
This may be a stupid question, but how long does it typically take to transfer to make something into a Blu-ray? Because in my mind, I think it could be a couple of hours, a day, or I have no idea.
Years in some cases.
Years. I'm just lost on that.
It depends. Okay, first of all, and I mean, I've talked to a few people, and it can take years. We're talking 3-4 years in some cases. Because first of all, you have to get the licensing in place. Then you have to find the elements, right? And then you have to pay for the scan. And then when you're done with that scan, you actually have to go through and do an actual new color timing. If they actually do what's called a restoration, if they actually are doing it properly, what they're doing is going back to the original negative, scanning it all, and then basically re-putting the movie back together with sound and all that kind of stuff.
Like frame by frame kind of thing, sort of?
Sort of. I mean, the movie's already kind of edited together, but what they have to do then is kind of sync it back up with the original sound, or if they're doing a new soundtrack and stuff like that. And like I said, redo the color timing if there's damage on the film. Like Jaws was a huge undertaking because the negative was so damaged. Because they'd struck so many prints from that movie over the years because it'd been re-released 20 times in the late 70s alone, let alone probably the early 80s too. But anyway, that point being made, they have, if there's any restoration that has to be done on the picture, or if it's something that can just be scanned and recolor timed and boom, it's out. That's a big difference. You can go anywhere from a few months to a few years. And that's if they find everything,
Yeah.
I loved the story that Robert Meyer Burnett told us about trying to put together because they did a full-on restoration of Star Trek: The Next Generation, where it was literally shot by shot, putting it back together with the soundtrack. They redid all the sound. And I mean, they were still scrambling for shots that they couldn't find at the last minute. And Rob said they found one shot that was cut into another episode, or shots that were cut into here or there into other things. And they finally had found
having to MacGyver a way to make it work somehow.
Well, I just got to recut it back in the day. Luckily, in this day and age, you can just rescan something and then just cut it back together, as opposed to back then you'd actually have to physically cut it back together.
Cut the film.
And actually, we'll talk a little bit about that probably later on. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That was just because I never really hear people talk about you just said a delayed to make the Blu-ray. I'm like, well, what could possibly take?
And then you have sometimes notice how often we have technical issues, right? Something will get through QC, and you'll have a framing issue, a color timing issue, a sound issue, you name it.
I guess they don't want to release a malfunctioned version if they.
Well, they do.
They did. Paramount.
The goal is to not.
The goal is to not, but even with Rocky, for instance, and stuff like that, we've had recent issues, and sometimes companies will just send them out without even knowing it. Vinegar Syndrome's real good about that.
It's just interesting, I guess, because I don't really hear people talk too much about the process of making. There's always the making the movie, but never making the disc that all that goes into.
Well, the actual disc making actually happens in a factory.
Well, I guess how would you describe the making
the process
transferring to Blu-ray process? Is there a word for that type of job specifically? I guess
probably restoration Blu-ray production, because I mean all the hard work is done up front. Once you get all your elements together, like your film, all the special features that you have licensed, all that stuff, then you have to sit down with somebody who knows how to do menu design and all that kind of stuff, and sit down and actually physically put the discs together, figure out how much compression you're going to do and all that kind of business. See, there's another level of things that can affect the picture going in there.
Hearing this, like, like the design of the DVD menu, or what's going to go on the disc, what's going to go on the Blu-ray, what's going to go on this, what's going to change, what if you're going to enhance it, like to what degree, I guess. You said that they change soundtracks sometimes. Like, do you mean like a newer, like a cleaner version of the same soundtrack, or like a new soundtrack?
Well, most cases they will try to go back to the original, what are called stems. So it's like basically a multi-track recording, and up until like the 80s or late 80s, early 90s, it was all done physically with actual, multi-track tapes and stuff like that.
Okay.
And then imprinted on the film as far as like a stereo soundtrack or a mono soundtrack. They did have some films that would have multi-track, but it was rare. And then in the late 90s, or mid 90s, they kind of came up with a system between Dolby and DTS. You had two basic sound systems that were the norm. And that's where you finally get in your multi-track sound. And that was all digital by that point. So by that, if they get something that's digital, you can go back in and just kind of, like, say if it was only done in stereo or mono in the past, and you have all the original stems, which is basically the audio, the dialogue, the sound effects, the music, all the ancillary bullshit
and stuff,
then you can do whatever the fuck you want with it at that point. You can, remix it however you want. But if you got to go back to something that is all on one magnetic soundtrack and you can't separate it, now they can digitally. They have found ways with the AI, like that's what Peter Jackson did with the more recent Beatles documentary and stuff like that. And they've actually gone back with like I think War of the Worlds and a couple other movies have already had it done where they had only a mono soundtrack to work with, but they used AI to separate all the sounds, and then they rebuilt it into a new multi-channel soundtrack.
Yeah.
So that's available to their options now. But now, for the longest time, like Batman and Superman are two examples of movies where people were pissed because when they did new multi-channel soundtracks for those, they changed some of the sound effects because they either couldn't locate the original or they didn't think they were sonically good enough for a multi-channel soundtrack.
That happened,
which is silly because they actually had a 5.1 mix for Superman the movie that they finally found and put on the original 4K release, but then removed for the subsequent release for some reason that nobody can explain why.
Wait, was that the Superman that had like the different directors on it or something?
No, it was just the original 4K release. For some reason, somebody found, because when they did 70 millimeter releases back in the day, they would sometimes have like a multi-channel release for it. Star Wars famously had a 6-channel release. Alien had like a 4-channel release. So if they have the original soundtrack to work from, they can just throw that on there in a multi-channel version of it, right? Like, without really altering anything to it. But nowadays, that's what they like to do, is take these older soundtracks and then revamp them for home theaters, which in some cases works out fine. But in other cases, like if you've noticed lately, I've found myself talking about where I'll just watch it with the original soundtrack instead, especially if it's a nice Dolby surround track. Because to me, it sounds more appropriate for the time. And the newer stuff, they just mix it weird sometimes. It's just,
it doesn't. Yeah.
All right, so this sounds like everybody else Raymond with the dad that's like
that, or they even remove. Well, I've noticed one thing is, okay, they'll remove hiss in the soundtrack, but they don't realize that a lot of times that quote unquote hiss is room noise, right? That's actually literally mixed on the soundtrack for a reason, to cover up sound edits, and it actually adds ambience to the sound of the room. And if you pull all that out, it makes everything kind of feel sterile and like it's missing something.
I know what you mean. Kind of like when people record the sound of nothing, and in a way that
there's some like
a weird ambience of subtly nothing, but you notice if it's gone or something.
Exactly. And there is that special point of just room noise that's there in movies and ambience that is missing in a lot of the newer soundtracks, and it makes me go, okay, so if you pulled that out, what else are we missing?
Right. So this sounds to me kind of like a weird case, kind of not in the same way of like when Lucas would edit his things or something. It's like, all right, what's going to be different now? Sort of.
Well, famously,
sometimes what happens now.
That was funny about what was funny about the special editions when they first came out. Nobody bitched about all the new special effects and shit. The thing I remember people bitching the most about was when the trench run begins or whatever, and you have the music go dun, 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 like really high. Like everybody's pissed because Lucas pulled it way down and you can barely hear it now because all you hear is instead, and everybody's like, where did the music go?
Yeah. Yeah.
But he fixed it in one of the subsequent special editions because everybody bitched so much. But it's like, why didn't you fix everything else, you asshole?
That's very interesting.
Cryon wants to know how many team typically gets thrown at the task.
Yeah, that's a good question.
It depends. I mean, my understanding in the smaller boutique companies, it can probably be like a 4 or 5 person team to probably multiple people on some of the bigger companies, but it probably depends on how many titles they're handling. And I'm sure a lot of it's hurrying up and just to wait. It sounds like you're waiting around a lot of time to hear from somebody or gather this or gather that or hear back from the studio to hear if it's okay.
I imagine that they have to like watch it multiple times to make sure that it all runs well.
They should, but
I imagine
we've learned that they don't.
Yeah,
like that because that's where I feel like that'd be the easiest thing. Even if you have people that worked on it, and then maybe people that don't, because
they used to
work on it all the time. You might just be kind of numb to it, and have somebody that's fresh that would watch it.
Well, you kind of have to understand. Like it used to be that this side of the business was handled by specialists who knew what the hell they were doing, who were pushing boundaries with menu systems and what they could do with games and other things on these products, whether it was DVD or Blu-ray. But sometime between Blu-ray and DVD, when the war ended and studios started trying to look more towards streaming, they gutted their home video departments, right? So all the people that were the big paid people, the people that were important and paid attention, all the shit, knew this shit. They were ousted, and a lot of this stuff was delegated to marketing departments and other things like that. So that's why when we bitch about why these movies look like shit, why the covers look like shit, why there's no special features on them anymore, because there's, as Robert Meyer Burnett and others have told us, like Bill Hunt and stuff like that too, none of these guys that used to, and gals, they used to do this specialized work in the industry anymore, at least in those departments, because they've dried up.
Yep.
You know, when you got the same, like a 10 people crew working on all the discs instead of 10 people per disc. I mean, like, that's a big difference.
Right.
Yep. Valley employees just like have no clue what they're doing.
No.
It's weird to me because if it seems like this would be an area of high interest, especially for people that collect. I mean, again, where most movies aren't in theaters anymore because they're in for their run, and then the rest is going to be on DVD usually or on disc. I mean, I would imagine that there'd be a lot of interest for this.
And you can blame Walmart for a lot of the reason why we don't have special features anymore, as Tim points out there in the chat. You know, people weren't watching special features anymore. It's mostly true. Really? And what happened was Robert Meyer Burnett told us a story, and I mean, I knew this at the time too. It's kind of a bummer, but Superman Returns was kind of a litmus test. There was a couple other movies that were too, but that was kind of the one that made the big decision. Because what they did for a short period, Warner Brothers was kind of testing the market, and I think a couple other studios did too, where they would do like rental / movie only versions, and they put them up against 2-disc versions that would have special features and all that.
More people bought the single disc,
and more people bought the single disc versions.
Okay. Wow.
By like 2 to 1 in some
cases. Was there a price difference or the same price?
Oh yeah, of course there was.
That was the biggest thing, you know.
But people besides like us don't give a shit about the special features.
What they call the mainstream. That's why they've gone streaming.
See, and I did never have a problem with this because it used to be, and I kind of liked the way it was for a while, and I wish they had kind of stuck with it. Like when a movie would come out, its life cycle, when DVD first came around, it would be like, okay, your movie would come out on DVD, all the EPK shit would be on its early release, you'd get a director's commentary, maybe a few of the cast and crew. That was cool. And then for an anniversary release down the road, that's when you get more of your retrospective stuff, maybe a director's cut, maybe, some of the extra. And then we didn't feel so bad about buying another version of a movie. Plus, we knew by that point, technology had gotten better. Even 10 plus, like so many years into the life of a DVD, we already had Blu-ray, right? So HD had already kind of come into the play in the fray. So I was already getting used to the idea of upgrading every few years already.
Yeah.
At that point. So like, I mean, you kind of trained us as you know, moving from VHS to either DVD from VHS or from Laserdisc to
Yeah,
Blu-ray.
same kind of went with like CDs and like records and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Going to the new thing is kind of like
he went from records to cassette tapes to CDs in most cases for most of us.
Yeah. But yes, Dan Blackroyd says Emulsion Rescue, the Godfather restoration documentary, is one of the best that shows the process of restoring a film. And also, I would recommend going over to the Vinegar Syndrome YouTube channel. They have some videos up over there where
Jaws has a good documentary, and so does It's a Wonderful Life as well.
I wouldn't mind seeing that stuff because I guess I never hear about this specific aspect for the disc process or for the menu. What you're going to see there, it's always the filmmaking part, which is always I'd say the area of most interest for most people. But I do find this interesting. I didn't think there'd be this much to it. I'm just picturing a guy that like burns a disc and makes just like, I don't know, it presses an enhance button on some of the quality. There you go. It's Blu-ray filtered now. There you go.
Kind of getting to that point in some ways. You're not wrong.
That's like how I guess
that's the James Cameron way.
And you're describing it like there's like 30 guys and it's taken a year and they have to get licenses. It's like a Breaking Bad, but like with making a disc or something.
It takes a while.
James Cameron just puts in a DVD and he's like enhanced.
Use this AI. Make his skin look rubbery now.
Get rid of all the grain.
Yes.
Change the color.
I guess this also is interesting to me because of different versions that are around, like the TV versions of things, and then I guess the Star Wars is a good example. Like, I think it's funny all the different versions that are around, but of course, it'd be better if we could get all the versions. Like, I'd never seen the original Star Wars stuff. Just seen clips here or there that people would play. Because I grew up on those Golden Boy special editions. Those. So that's. But I do find it interesting having these, like even the Blu-ray ones. I don't like the Blu-ray ones, but I'm glad they exist because it's funny. Like, no.
To me, and I think most fans, what the special editions feel like is when a band takes an album and they remix it and they add a whole bunch of weird shit to it for no good fucking reason.
Yeah, now we can make it good. It's like, no, we don't need to do that.
Our years of training has made us so good. This is what we wanted to say. No, we like the original. But I do not think I think physical media is here to stay. Will it dwindle down? Yeah, I do believe it will dwindle down, but I never.
That's a great question. I'm sure a lot of people felt 40 years ago when the CD was first taking over that records would never come back.
Exactly.
They never quite went away, but there was a time where most music wasn't released on record albums.
Mm-hmm.
It came back. It'll happen. Like, things will go away. I think Blu-ray or 4K may be one of the last actual physical media formats.
Mm-hmm.
It may transfer over to we'll be able to download our own stuff eventually or something like that and have a hard drive of it. But you never know.
Honestly, like from somebody who has kind of grown up in the middle, like where I grew up with movies, but like streaming came out when when I was still growing up, I guess, with stuff. And it's like, well, I do like having physical media mostly because like when Netflix was coming around, I thought that was really awesome. But then as soon as I was looking for a movie that was on there and then it wasn't anymore, I was like, well, what the hell is that? Like, well, what the hell is that? And then what is that? I'm like, I'll just watch it. I'll put it in my queue and I'll watch it later. And then it's gone. And I'm like, what? Well, and then it's like, oh no, you can buy the thing and then you'll have it and then it won't go away. And it's like, oh, that's better. I'd rather just do that.
And you find out that's not true anymore either.
Well, speaking of the remastering process and people asking how it's going to go, I noticed a lot of people have been buzzing about how South Park Bigger and Longer and Uncut is going to be mastered when it comes out June 25th. That's
interesting.
Okay. Well, the question is, are they just going to scan like what they had ostensibly as a negative for the film back in the day? Or are they going to go back and redo it on the computer, reprocess it out in 4K? Because for those who don't know, when they went back and did the Blu-rays for the series, they literally went back to the beginning of the show and reprocessed it for HD and widescreen. So I'm curious if that's what they'll do this time out, if they'll literally just go back and re-render all the files in 4K. If they do that, it could look amazing. Even if they do it with a film thing, it might look all right. But yeah, because the Blu-ray looks okay. I'm not a big fan of how that Blu-ray looks because it's off a film print.
I feel like if Trey and Matt have some type of say in how it would look, I could see them like starting the thing with like some do-bag lizards in the background for fun, and then no, for real, here's the real start or something.
Well, I mean, it'd be a pristine copy if they do it from the original files. Like that's what I was saying. Like the film that they scanned for some reason for the old Blu-ray, just doesn't look the greatest. It looks all right, but you put that up against the TV show. The TV show looks better now. Like that's my point.
I got you. Wow. And then the quality has improved a lot.
Well, it's because when they did the movie, they weren't doing the show in HD yet. So that was a huge undertaking. I mean, basically, that's what they ostensibly did was do the show in HD for the movie. And then I think for another 3 or 4 years, the show was just done in standard def until they moved to HD. I can't remember what season, but it was the same thing with The Simpsons. As soon as The Simpsons movie, they did all that and they had all the assets after The Simpsons movie, then the show shifted to HD.
Okay.
So yeah. So in that case, yeah. The original first shorts, Corley and Rogue, if you're talking about South Park, only the original shorts and the first episode were done with hand cutouts. And after they did the first episode and realized that they would never be able to physically make the number of episodes,
they did an episode on that.
One.
They did an episode on that where they're like, oh well, we can make things and we use stop motion, and they're like Carmen sneezes or something, and he's like, well, sorry, we've been doing this for 4 hours, and we only
they got lucky that they got in at the ground floor on some of the CGI stuff, because that's really what South Park is.
Yeah,
as crappy as the animation looks, it was kind of advanced at the time they first started doing it, because after the second episode on, they did it all on computer and it looked like cutouts, right? And at that point, they were able to do that with computers, and that was even ahead of a lot of the other stuff that was going on at the time. But yeah. I mean, some things were already using computers for animation, like Disney movies and some other stuff. But anyway, speaking of, so that comes out the 25th, along with Team America: World Police.
Yes.
And we still don't know if both versions of the movie are going to be in 4K or not.
Yeah, we don't know that. Yeah, no. And speaking of another restoration that's happening, The Flash, the original series, is getting a Blu-ray release from Warner Archive on June 18th, and they're going directly to at least that's what they said, anyways. The Warner Archive has the habit of doing this. They're one of the last remaining studio parts that still do this. They're scanning it directly from the negatives of from what it was shot back in the day for 1080p. So we'll see how that turns out.
The Flash show that I brought on a couple weeks ago.
The original Flash show from the 90s. Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
And then we got Purple Rain, speaking of Warner Brothers, in June. We got a steelbook as well, it looks like, for that. Anchorman's coming in July. Other than that, what was there? Trying to remember. Did Kino announce a few things?
I think they announced a bunch of things. Sometimes it's just like little level stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, was there anything that was?
I think some Western
Turbulence. Did we mention that last week?
No, we didn't.
That was 2 days ago. I think they announced that one. So yeah.
Yeah, Turbulence.
Ray Liotta. Yep.
Did we talk about Risky Business on 4K from Criterion?
I think we brought that up last week, if I'm not mistaken, because the Criterion. But if I'm not, I thought we did all the Criterion ones. And Repossessed was the other one that they were.
Oh yeah,
Repossessed. I don't know if we brought that one up or not, because you're welcome. I just imported in.
Yeah, you know what? I don't think we did bring that up. But yes, Kino's doing Repossessed on the new 2K Master. Which is funny because it was announced, it was reported a little while ago, well, rumored that it was going to be a Vestron title.
And I wonder if it'll be the same scan that I have, because the one that I have looks really good.
Yeah.
And what's funny is, and I never got an answer from them when I asked them. I asked what their source was for the scan of, Jesus, I just forgot the name of it, Hardcore. Because my import of Hardcore looks so much better than the version they have, which is a rarity. Like, I mean, usually they tend to have, whatever best version they can get their hands on. I mean, it's not like leaps and bounds difference, but it's like, what did you guys do, or what is the difference here? Why is the one that I imported looks so much better than this one? This just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was even like 2 years older than the other one too, or something like that.
Mm-hmm. But
yeah, so Repossessed.
Yeah, that always happens every time. As soon as you decide, I'm gonna finally buy this, then boom. No, Mad Monster Party is not available on 4K, but there is a US Blu-ray and an Umbrella Blu-ray. The Umbrella Blu-ray came with a bunch of stuff.
I think Umbrella or both.
Or
both. At least that's the one I have. Maybe, I don't know.
Is there? I know there's a US one for like $10 I've seen on Amazon. So
yeah, I've got the Umbrella one. That's all I know.
Yeah. But yeah, there. I believe that's all the things, and the Repossessed thing does get me because it does come in a DVD set with 4 movies, and the 3 of the 4 movies have all been Vestron titles. Now it repossesses Kino, so I wonder if Kino got some kind of deal. So
I will say I just got these in the mail today because these actually technically don't come out till next week. But I got duped into buying all 3 of them instead of just getting the one because they dropped these, of course, before they did the box set version. But I didn't get to open 2 and 3 yet. But I watched the first one earlier today. It looks really good. It looks like all the special features from the Blu-ray from before carried over here. Like a nice little card motif. So I'm not like totally unhappy that I bought 3 of them, but I could have got it so much cheaper had I just. I just want to let everybody know. So far, the first one looks pretty good. There is some anomalies on it that kind of weird, but we'll get into that next week when I watch all 3 of them.
All right. Now that we've done all that, we'll start with you, Rookie, tonight. Let's have you have your first pick of the night, because that wasn't Tom's first pick. He was just letting us know about that, guys. So let's get you.
Yeah, I just got those in the mail today.
Yeah.
Okie dokie.
So what do you got first, Rookie?
So guys, do you think should I start with the good one first, the bad one, or the odd one?
The ugly.
The ugly. The
ugly?
Good, the bad, and
okay.
the ugly.
Start with the ugly. Battle Droid. Have you guys heard of this one?
Fuck no.
No.
Well, okay.
What is it? Is that like one of those like fake ass movies from that one company?
Blinky Productions?
No, I never heard of them.
No, I thought. Yeah, I know what you're.
But you're right.
About.
Your guys' assumptions are right.
Please, Alan, what the fuck is that?
It's a waste of my time. This was a waste of my time. My God,
I could tell you that just by looking at the cover, man.
I don't know. This was in my Amazon queue, I guess, from like 2012 or something.
I should have told you something.
I put a bunch of movies. Yeah, this was a 2012 movie. I put this in my queue early on when I was just looking at things on Amazon to get later. And I was like, what was it, $5? Okay, I'll watch it. I had it in my queue for some reason. I'll see if it's good. It's like a short film just extended to 1 hour and 20 minutes. It's a civil war in America. There's just a stupid terrorist Americans that are killing people for their reason. They don't tell you what it is at all. Everything's vague. It's just like, hey, those are the bad guys. We're the good guys. The battle droids they keep on calling them androids. They never say battle droid in the film at all, for one. I don't know. They call them androids when they're not. They're cyborgs. That's what human modification things, not specifically an android. That'd be more different thing there for terminology. There's a lot of weird close-ups that I hate. It's in that type of film. I'd rather watch Birdemic kind of a movie is what this is. Like, I don't get the same like hilarity of its low quality. It is just low quality, and that's it. Like, the whole time. There's no real comedy that's funny. There's no sets that are good. There's no dialogue that's good. There's no characters that's good. The filter over it is awful. Like, it makes me want Zack Snyder filters compared to this.
No.
Like, I know, but that's how bad this is. Don't watch it. I don't imagine any human in this stream have watched it, but if you ever accidentally do for some reason, don't.
Even Steven, who knows these movies that you typically bring on, says he can't even help you. So...
Yeah, no, I don't watch this movie.
Let us teach you a thing called standards, okay?
This is even recommend.
Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel wouldn't review some movies sometimes because it's like there's a thing called like kicking You know, somebody when they're down, or punching down, or whatever you want to call it. Look, this movie is beneath you. It knows it's beneath you.
Yeah, I questioned finishing it. I was like, do I need to finish
You
this
should
one?
have.
I was 20 minutes in, and I seriously sat there. I was like,
I mean, look at the logo alone. Should have told you everything you need to know about that piece of shit. Oh, look, kids, it's in the Transformers logo.
Sometimes you never know if you'll find a gem of some kind. So far, I think I found only one gem out of
that
like
should
30.
Tell you something.
Out of 30, I think I found one gem of movies that are obscure.
You know, there's these people that try to say that film is subjective. Yes, that is true to a degree.
I agree.
Yes.
But then there is this truth in that it is also objective in that there is garbage.
This is garbage.
And then there is actual attempts at making films, and then there are films, regardless of what some may think of one way or another, right? Like Police Academy. Like it or not, it's a film.
Yeah.
You know, some critics will argue with that, but I'll say, no, fuck you. It's shot on film. It's competently shot. It has a script. It has an ABC story, a beginning, middle, and end. And then you have shit like, what the fuck is that called? Battle Droid?
Battle Droid.
That's not a movie.
Battle Droid.
That is called a tax shelter.
That's somebody who was just trying to funnel money somewhere, and they had a digital camera, and they were trying to capitalize off of action movies at the time.
The description is in a near future, our nation is at war with itself once again. The United States, on the brink of collapse, transforms into a totalitarian republic. All of those who oppose the new republic are deemed traitors and form the rebel resistance. In an effort to wipe out the rebels, the New Republic authorities, the engineers of the perfect killing machine,
and wanted them to have a baby,
an artificially intelligent android soldier named Leah. But while in battle, Leah is captured by the resistance and reprogrammed.
Really, Leah?
Will Leah switch allegiances, effectively deciding the outcome of this war, or will she finish her mission and exterminate the rebel resistance?
Does any of that shit actually happen in the movie?
Surprisingly, yes, but in the most boring way you could ever see.
That's what I'm saying. Does it actually make sense?
Like, if this was a short film, like condense the story into 10 minutes, I would say that's a good short film. Stretching it to an hour and 20 minutes is torture. Fuck you. This is torture.
Well, you're learning slowly, but learning.
Yeah. So that was the obscure one that I was hoping would be like, oh, guys,
that's not the bad one. That's
definitely the ugly. That's definitely the ugly. I'll give him that.
This is the ugly. When I tell you the bad one, you will agree and know why. But we'll wait for that one. Maybe I'll save the best for last, and so we'll do the bad one.
That might just be one of those subjective films when we get there, like Gremlins.
No, this has been universally shat on. You will have agreed with it. It was one where I thought maybe people are exaggerating, and they were right. I was to have any hope was foolish. It was mostly because of who was in it that I was like, it can't be that bad, could it? You know, but we'll get there. This was Battle Droid. It's funny reading the summary is pretty much the whole movie because there's nothing in it that's worth talking about. There's just I would just have to show bad clips of the scenes, and you guys would go, "No, I don't need to see this.
I don't need to see." I was gonna say I don't need to see any part of that movie.
Yeah.
And I like good bad movies, and I hate saying that because I think even though most people would say those movies are like the good bad movies are bad, I love them. I enjoy it. You know, that's not even a good bad movie. Like Tom said, that's not even a film.
No.
So, yeah.
I assume this is like one of those look-alike movies or something. The poster almost looks like a poster, like almost. If you look at it from far away, it's like,
it's one of those movies to trick grandmas, basically.
Yeah, like Amazing Bulk and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like, that sounds like
Transmorphers.
Yeah,
I got that new Transmorphers movie you want, honey.
Hey, well, deleted scenes. At least you didn't watch the movie. Consider me who has watched the choices that you're hearing.
Rookie watches it, so you don't have to, nor would you have in the first place.
That's another nostalgia critic type of thing. Oh no.
Yeah, Godzilla there. I don't even. I would say that's like a D-list movie.
Yeah,
That's what I mean.
honestly,
There's a
I
difference.
I guess probably more to say. It's more reasons why it's bad. Like the visuals give you kind of a headache with the way it's framed and the way that it, like I said, like the filtering of the color looks so dull, but in like different than a Snyder dull, like a worse than that. Like at least his is like a competent dull. This is like an incompetent dull.
Here's a litmus test going forward, so you don't waste any more money on these pieces of shit. Okay.
Yeah.
First, you can look at like the writer and the director, and you look up their IMDb. If they have not done anything else that you've heard of, don't buy it. Same thing with like any of the stars in the movie. If you've never heard of any of them, or have they been in anything that you have ever heard of, don't buy it. Right? It's just kind of
this must have been like this must have been a recommendation after getting something else, and then I was like, oh, add that to my queue, and I'll just get that later. And then 10 years later,
no, it's because like, Amazon has seen you buy stupid shit before, and go, this motherfucker buy anything.
No, yeah. This was early, this was early. This was early on. This was like this was early. It was in my list for years because I never bought it. So it was just
don't be naive. Don't be naive like my friend who, like, when I go to the casino with them, they're like, I'm like, they know exactly who you are, how much you'll spend, and you know where you're gonna spend it and stuff like that. He's like, they don't know who I am. I'm like, bullshit. They have a whole fucking file on you, motherfucker.
So far, my bets have been pretty bad. Where only 1 out of 30
like knows what you will buy.
Yeah, and they'll feed it to you.
They keep trying to feed me with weird shit. It's like, nah, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me or shame on you. You know that thing.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, now we got
top that.
Now we got craptastic piece out of the way. Let's go to you, Tom. What's your first pick of the night?
Where should I go with this? Holy shit. Yeah, I watched a 4K I've had for a while. And I just hadn't watched it yet, but I know it just got re-released again in some fancier version. The movie itself is the same, is my understanding, but it's just got more swag. But The Big Lebowski, I knew it was about time I rewatched it again. It'd been a while. You know, the other night being 420 and all, I thought it was appropriate, and the dude abides. Yeah, no, I checked it out for an earlier 4K release. It looks fairly good. You get, of course, the old Blu-ray and the new 4K in there. All the old special features are carried over to the Blu-ray, and it has it looks pretty good. I mean, I wouldn't say it's like reference quality or anything like that, but no, I can recommend it. As far as the film goes, I mean, it's a classic. I mean, you haven't seen it, then what the fuck?
That Big Lebowski is one that I will have to rewatch one of these days, because I think I was shown that in my one cinema class in college. I did not like the movie.
Shut the fuck up, rookie.
I was so confused why anybody likes the movie. I'm just like, the dude, okay. The only thing I thought was really funny was when he like put his the sunglasses were shoved in the toilet and he puts them back on. I was like, that's kind of funny.
Where's the money, Lebowski? I don't know. I'm sure it's down there somewhere. Let me take another peek.
But like I said, I'll rewatch it because a lot of my film taste has changed since then. So we'll see if
this is a classic, man. I mean, this is you got to be in the right frame of mind to see this movie. You have to understand that it's not your typical film, and it is probably one of the funniest comedies ever made. I don't care what anybody says.
Well, no, it was like we watched like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I had watched John Malkovich, and we were watching a lot of a random assortment of movies.
Nazis, man. Pan's Labyrinth, nihilist.
Pan's Labyrinth, and then like this was thrown in there too. And so there was just a very different variety of movies that had no consistency of why the movies were chosen for us to watch.
Yeah, that I don't get.
When we got to Big Lebowski, I was just kind of like, I don't know what I feel about that one. No, it's not. No.
Big Lebowski is a fun. I just dropped in to see what condition my condition was in. I love that scene where he's dancing.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. What condition my condition was
Was
in.
in. And it's a great movie. He pisses on the rug.
He pissed on your fucking rug, dude. That rug really did bring the room together.
It did,
Fucking A.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he said, just take any rug in the house, man.
Rookie, I think maybe it's for an older generation or something, Tom. I don't know.
This is not Vietnam. There's fucking rules. Now mark it 0.
Donnie.
You don't mark it 0. You're entering a world of pain. A world of pain. Man, what'd you bring the fucking dog for, man? Look, it's a show dog. You can't. No, it's not a show dog thing. It's an ex-wife thing, Walter. Look, they have fucking papers, dude. You cannot board it, okay?
Brooks just like,
Don't roll on Shabbos. You're not even fucking Jewish, man. I converted when we got married. Oh, but you're divorced now. So you think I leave the faith?
John Goodman is freaking nuts in that movie.
Here, take the ringer, dude. What? Take the ringer. What the fuck is this? It's my dirty undies.
Brad
Right, plan B.
Brad versus all I know with Lebowski is that Joel Coen wanted Brando to be the Big Lebowski, but Brando couldn't do it due to illness.
Oh,
it wouldn't work. I don't think
it's not the same. What's his face? I can't think of his name, but he's just the right actor,
Jeff
especially
Bridges.
when you find out the real scheme and all that business. Because, yeah. I mean, Brando would have been fun, but he'd have been too distracting, I think.
Yeah. Well, real Sean Crummell, thanks for showing up. He says, keep missing the show, can't stay, just dropping by to say hey, and I hope Rookie is comparing some other classic of cinema to his utter disdain for Gremlins.
At this point, I can't say I have disdain for Gremlins. There's other things I have disdain for.
Don't you remember what Lennon said?
So.
I am the walrus. I am the walrus. Shut the fuck up, Donnie.
No, poor Donnie. Steve Buscemi. Did you ever watch the Jesus movie, the Jesus movie? I heard that was really bad.
I haven't seen it, but I've seen the trailer. But yeah, I've heard it's pretty bad too.
Yeah, I've heard it was really bad, and I was like, you can't really.
What was all that shit about Nam, man? Not every fucking thing's about Vietnam. Well, it kind of is, dude. What the hell is this right here? Well, that's for the urn, sir. Yeah, but we're just spreading his ashes. Why? Well, what do we need an urn for? Well, you need a receptacle for the ashes. That's $180. You put them in a fucking coffee can.
Like it blows everywhere when they.
That's the best part. He's like, "What the fuck, Walter?
Just blows right everywhere."
What was all that shit about Vietnam?
But didn't it come out in a steelbook not too long ago or something?
That's what I was saying. They did some elaborate, like Universal's been releasing a bunch of their movies in these elaborate swaggy editions. The movies are the same, the discs are the same, but
yeah,
they just have like a bunch of swag with them and stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. I heard that too. That the Coens are just separated and taking it. I think it comes a point in time where they kind of heard. Yeah, I thought I heard that one of them wanted to direct by himself or something, and it had nothing to do with each other. They just try and separate, I
like the Coen brothers, but I like their I'm one of those rare folks, and this is more of a subjective thing. I prefer their comedies over their dramas. Mm-hmm. Like to me, Raising Arizona, this, and Oh Brother, Where Art Thou are their best movies.
Yeah.
Then the rest.
I like that one.
Yeah. I'll agree with you on that. I mean, I did the one with Rooster Cogburn with Jeff Bridges, by the way. I can't think of the name of it right now. That was all right. The Dukes, I think, is still better, but
True Grit.
Yeah, True Grit. Yeah, there. Thank you. I couldn't think of
it's different enough.
Yeah, it's more
that it's like, yeah, it's closer to the book, so it's kind of like having one of those. I didn't mind it. I mean, it's good, but you're right. Like, it's not the Duke.
Yeah.
But at least Jeff Bridges isn't trying to be John Wayne either. Like, that'd have been his, like gotten, I hate to say it, but like if they got like Kurt Russell or something like that, you know damn well he would have just.
Oh yeah, because he can do it. He can do John Wayne. Yeah.
You know, which is kind of what he did in Hateful Eight, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's also what he did in what's the John Carpenter one?
Jack Burton.
Yeah, Jack Burton. That's John Carpenter said be John Wayne, so he was John Wayne as Jack Burton. But yeah, I didn't mind it. It's different enough, and it is funny because it's the Duke and the dude, the right eye was the Duke wore his on the right eye patch on the right eye. The dude wore his eye patch on the left eye. So they made sure it was different enough. But yeah, The Big Lebowski is a great movie. It's funny. It's hilarious. I definitely give it another shot, Rook. Yeah, I do think you got to be in a mood for it. I would say
I will. So when I was saying my phrasing of it, I was just like, I think when we saw The Big Lebowski, there was a couple of like being John Malkovich, and there was some other movie that I don't remember the name of it. I was like, I was in a sour mood with the selections, and then they were getting good, like with The Big, Bad, and the Ugly, Tampopo, Pan's Labyrinth, and stuff. I was like, okay, it's getting better. Pan's Labyrinth is also like fine. I don't think it's.
See, what's funny is I'd be more on the other end. I'd be more happier about seeing The Big Lebowski and some of the other ones you mentioned before. I would be sitting through Pan's Labyrinth and stuff. But
yeah.
I got you. But yeah, but that was my cracking into deciding that I really like film area of time for me, and The Big Lebowski was just like my epitome of I don't see why this one's loved at the time. Now I can see, you know, I like more. I've seen more movies with the actors that are in them, so I do like the cast. It's just, I'll have to rewatch it. That was over 10 years ago that I saw it.
Yeah.
Well, what's funny about it is they basically got like a Cheech and Chong movie by the Academy.
Yeah.
Right. Because this movie did get a bunch of notice, but really, if you think about it, the plot isn't much different than what Cheech and Chong would find themselves in.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of is, you know. So I mean,
their own house, piss on the rug, and
somebody like shows up and fucking they get sucked into this whole like thing, you know. Like you could see that happening to like Cheech, and that's kind of what Walter and you know the dude kind of are like, even though you got Donnie tagging along too. But you know, it's just
they're almost like non-protagonists. They're the guys that we're following that wouldn't.
Well, that's the thing about the movie that is interesting is shit happens to the main character, and it's not the main character being proactive, right? Like nothing he really does affects anything.
Yeah,
he just keeps getting thrusted into these things. Like Walter does more in the plot of the story to fuck things up than anybody. But
yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah, I'll be completely honest with you, Brian Barth. I love Fargo. I think Fargo is great. Like I said, I like True Grit. I've never actually seen No Country for Old Men or Inside Llewyn Davis.
I haven't seen Llewyn Davis, but I like No Country for Old Men. I'm just not It's not one of those movies I can watch again and again and again.
I've surprisingly have never seen it. So
really,
yeah, I've never seen it.
It's got a real shitty ending, in my opinion.
I think it had I think the ending was just fine with it.
I've heard things about it. I know people like it, and I've heard some things about it. I've never really sat down to.
I feel like you'd probably agree with Tom though for the ending, because I feel like you guys have a similar quality and taste for it.
Probably.
And based on it's not spoiling anything if I say how you didn't like the Mist's ending.
Oh, I hate the Mist.
I might really not have if I hadn't got it spoiled for me.
Yeah,
but I'm not always a fan of those endings either, because to me they feel like they're just trying to be 1970s endings, and it's like, yeah, the 70s are over.
Yeah, in some cases, the story you're watching does not need that ending. That's just like sometimes they're out of the blue. It's like what, and it's just like that's not the movie you use that ending on.
I feel like I'd agree with that for some movies, but that goes into a whole discussion on what qualifies or why should movies have certain endings as they are. Essentially,
like, I personally,
it kind of depends. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say with the Mist, I personally prefer the book ending because it leaves it open to where it's in your mind where either they're dead or they're alive, because it leaves them going down like a road. You know,
well, like Stephen King's a funky one where he doesn't ever. He never knows how to end his shit.
He is bad endings.
Yes, I mean, I found it like a tragic thing that you don't see often. Like, I haven't seen that in like anything where it's that like it just right there. If you just waited a couple of minutes, everything would have been totally different.
See, the way it was explained to me, I haven't seen
it,
so I can't really. But from what it was explained to me, it felt kind of cheap, and that's what I hate. Is those kind of cheap, toss you in the last minute endings, kind of like. What was that one, Identity with John Cusack, where he
I feel like this was where I feel like it's kind of where it was heading based on the events that you see in the film and what the characters see. I think it makes sense for where they were going because of how traumatic everything was that they went through. Like, do they want to just all experience that as well? No. So I thought the decision was a logical one and one that made sense for the end of the movie.
I don't know. I thought it wasn't, and they changed that ending on that. I just can't get into movies when they do that. There's some movies that deserve that type of ending, and it fits the story. But I don't think like The Mist, it didn't deserve that type of ending. That's just
to me, it's the kind of thing where if you're left with the choice to keep it like completely with the book or make these slight changes to it, because I don't know how it compares to the rest of the book in general. If the rest of the movie is aligned with it enough or adapted well enough to it. This is that type of change where I think that's a bold change where it either will screw you or it will help you. I feel like it's one of those middle of the road ones. I don't know if there's anybody that's in between on it. They're either for it or against it. And that's the audience that'll split with it. Because I not having read the book either, I just saw the movie as it was. And from, I guess, the movie palette that I have, this was like the first time I saw something where that type of thing happened, like that traumatically. You
should watch more 70s movies.
Because I've seen, it's usually more of like they get saved at the end, is usually, or they run on, or it's a happy ending of some kind.
Well, and I don't always disagree with
or there's a last second jump scare. And that's what I'm used to.
You always need like an overly happy ending either. Like, I just disagree with sometimes with it. And this comes as flat out of the 70s where you have this like ending come out of fucking nowhere where the main character will just fucking die, get killed, some stupid shit like that just for no good. It's like, what? Wait, what? Like, it was this cynical thing. And to me, when they do that cheap shit, it feels like that, and it's just like, oh, please.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I feel like that doesn't apply to The Mist. I feel like there's other movies.
It may not. I haven't watched it yet. I have to watch it. I haven't seen it.
This is a rare occurrence where there's two movies. You haven't seen No Country for Old Men, and you haven't seen The Mist. I've seen both. Yes, score one.
Well, my point was No Country pulls it off a little better because the Coen brothers actually clearly love cinema. And it feels like a 1970s movie.
Yeah.
But like a perfect example of this was Kevin Smith when he did Clerks. He had Dante get shot at the end for no fucking reason.
Yeah.
That's how the original movie ended.
Spoiling everything for everybody if they care. But then again, these are old movies, so it doesn't matter.
Clerks, that's not even in the movie now.
Yeah,
it's not even in the movie. It's only on the original version, and it's just there just for no other fucking reason than the producer or the people at the time, I think, that bought the film said it's just because you don't know how to fucking end the movie. It's like the movie ends when it's closed. You don't need this extra bullshit because it does. It feels like pretentious indie film shit, which is what all those movies were trying to be at that time. Was every 70s movie, and Tarantino and the Coen brothers and a few others Soderbergh could do that kind of shit. There's, I'm sure, a few others you guys could name in the chat, but otherwise, a lot of them just come off pretentious.
Yeah,
like the only one who kind of teetered that line and then went over that line was Shyamalama Ding Dong.
Yeah,
right. Like Sixth Sense, Unbreakable worked. From there on out, everything he tried was clearly just because. It's like no. You built up to that before. Now you're just throwing this shit out there.
Well, so this might be a reasonable question then. Like, what type of films would you compare to? They don't have to be the ones we're talking about. If we're trying to come up with different comparison, like what ones do you think are trying to be edgy compared to ones that do something well?
Because I thought The Mist was trying to be edgy. I thought The Mist, the way when it says I don't think it deserved that ending, the way that story was playing out, the way where it was headed, and especially from the book, is it didn't. That ending like just comes out of nowhere. It's just like for pure just shock value. and
Right.
it's not. It doesn't benefit the story
disagree
at all.
entirely.
It does
feel
not
like
benefit the story at all.
everything that they see, the people experience from these creatures, they don't want to experience that. Like it seems like
it's stupid. I'm sorry, you're never going to change my mind on it. It's just stupid. I understand there are some people that like it, and that's fine. And that's fine if you like it, and that's the ending you're going for. But it's just for pure shock value, and it's a pointless ending. The story could have ended so much differently, and it's such more. You could even end it in a much more shocking way that would have fit the movie. Besides that, that just felt wrong.
Yeah.
So I guess my question would be, what is an example of a movie where they do something like that you would say is not edgy?
Well, like I said, Sixth Sense is a good example of it, to where it's clearly built up to that, right? Or even a better example is Unbreakable, right? I love that because that twist ending isn't even really like a Sixth Sense kind of twist ending so much as it is, just kind of this realization that both characters have, and it's this great kind of twist that you have that's there right in front of you the whole time. Right? It's there.
That's a twist, though, I'd say. What happens in The Mist, I'd say, is different than a twist.
That's the thing, though, and that's what Greg and I are talking about. There's a difference between actually having a twist, which is something that's set up that kind of feels like it comes out of left field, but once you reevaluate things, you're like, oh, okay. Something like that, where you just have a character get killed, or somebody does something just before, something like that. Like The Mist, I can see there could be an argument for. I have to watch it again, leading up to that point. But like one of the better examples of where it's done well is Night of the Living Dead.
Yes.
Like that is one of the first 1970s films before the 70s, because
I'll need the to
ending
see
of
that
the film is set up in a way where it's trying to say something, but at the same time, it just so happened that history coalesced with the film. It made it much more poignant at the time than it ever could have been. And that's simply because you have a black lead who gets shot at the end for no other reason than they think he might be a zombie.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing of it is like when George Romero set out to make the movie, he wasn't hiring a black lead just because he was trying to be edgy and, stuff like that. The guy came in and he was like, "You're the best actor for the role." That's why he got the role. There was not set up. It just happened to coincide with history. Like Tom said, it just all kind of worked together in his favor.
What I mean by that is, I don't know if you're aware of this, Rook, but as they were literally on the way to editing the final reel, they got the news that Martin Luther King had been shot.
Oh,
and for a few minutes, they debated on even having that ending anymore. Because they're like, does it send the wrong message? What is it saying? And finally,
that same thing happened with the Two Towers a lot, right?
And Romero's like, fuck it. We're just going to go forward with it, basically, and be damned one way or the other. Maybe the impact now could mean more than if we don't, kind of thing, I think is what he was trying to say. But
I think that's a good choice for the directors to go through, because I've seen that happen where even in Pokemon, there's like a tentacle monster that destroys a building, and they're like in the intro, and they're like, do we keep that in or not with it? But
do we just compare Pokemon to
I'll bring it. I want to bring it back to this for a second. Night of the Living Dead to my queue so I can watch it.
But that's just a good point of it, a random act of whatever happening, but it could happen, especially in that chaos. But when it happens in other films, like in the 70s, they were just doing it to be edgy.
Well, the question that I guess I have then is, do you think that it's like for FanZcene with The Mist? Do you think that the characters wouldn't have made that choice, or you think?
I truly do. I truly do not think the man in that movie would have made that choice.
Was Stephen King even a father yet? That's another question you got to ask yourself, because there's a lot of creatives that were. Steven Spielberg and others who have said, they would have done things way differently had they been fathers at the time they made these movies, right? Because I'm with Greg on this one. Like, knowing the ending, there is no way I would do that to my kid regardless. Like, it's my job, one way or the other, whether I go first to set this kid up to survive, because that's all that fucking matters, right? And, to me, I can't equate that. It doesn't. I know that there's this thing where, in history, you've had stories of mothers and people having to sacrifice their kids for certain situations. But in 9.9.999 cases out of 10, I just don't see how a father could do that.
Yeah,
because that just goes against every bone in your body.
And it's so dumb. It's so dumb too, because like if I remember, how many people are left in the car? Is it 3 or 4?
There's two old people and the girl that was
like,
there. Him and,
like
and the
him, his son, the girl, and I think maybe somebody else. And he's only got 3 bullets. No fucking way he's going to shoot all them.
He had 4 bullets. There's 5 people total.
And there's no way he's going to, after watching the movie and the type of character this man is, there's no way he would do that. And there's no way he's dumb enough after he does it to get out of the car screaming and crying and put the gun in his mouth, pulling the trigger repeatedly, thinking he can shoot himself. It's just,
hold on, though. No. After he just did what he did, he doesn't want to live anymore. It doesn't matter. He's not thinking at that point.
If he doesn't want to live anymore, he's not going to put the gun in his mouth. He's not going to put the gun in his mouth and try to shoot when he knows he doesn't have any bullets. He would get a knife or something and just kill himself.
I'm just saying, I don't know. If you're watching, if you're seeing characters in a certain situation, I don't know how you think they're going to be. The people at the store were going crazy. They weren't exactly acting intelligently.
That's completely different than
I don't know
because they have been removed from that craziness. They're on the run.
A knife. How do you know they have a knife? They're in a car.
I'm just saying, if he had something else, he would do it.
You know,
you're right. I would agree.
I think of a similar scene where there isn't even a kid involved, and I love it because what's his face in Dawn of the Dead, when he's sitting there and he thinks it's his last moments, and he's like, "Fuck it." And he takes the shot. He gets the fuck out of there. You know.
Yeah.
What's his face? I just forgot his name. When there's more room in hell.
Jesus Christ. Oh my God, what is his name?
You know who I'm thinking of, but I just forgot his name.
What is his name? I know it because I've seen him in a bunch of movies. Oh my God. How is this? Kim Foray.
Kim Foray. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because like, I mean, when you get that moment in a movie, like I can see that. Like in a zombie movie where that all hope is fucking lost. But even in movies like that, and one that was made in the heart of the 70s, even Meryl's like, fuck it, I'm going to let the black guy live this time.
Yeah, because this time is completely out of, because you're going into the movie thinking that he's going to die, just like Night of the Dead. And it turns out he's the fucking hero of this movie and he gets to live with the chick. So, at the end, he's just like.
Everybody else instead dies. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only sad one is his buddy when he gets bit.
Yeah.
Really, because the husband guy. I can't believe I'm forgetting all their names. It's been a while since I watched.
I know, me too.
He deserved it, but yeah.
But I'm not saying it if you like the ending of The Mist and you think it's good, that's fine. It's fine.
Well,
but to me,
I agree. I feel like that's a base.
With kids and the character and actually having read the novel, it's completely out of left field. It doesn't fit the story. It's unnecessary. I do not believe for one second this man, especially the way Thomas Jane portrays him, would get to that point of irrationality when for the most of the movie, he is the most calm, level-headed person while everybody else is going crazy. Just doesn't fly with me. I'm sorry. But on that note, speaking of movies with maybe endings that don't wrap up completely nice, because I was going to save my first pick, this pick here.
Can I interrupt you real quick? Because we do actually have the full roster from June from Warner Archive now.
Oh.
We're getting not only The Flash, but we're getting The Man I Love, Act of Violence, The Shining Hour, The Alaskans, and the Alfred Hitchcock original version of Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Oh, nice.
There you go. So, nice. The Flash is not the only one we're getting. But anyway, continue. Sorry.
That was very good. Thank you for that update. There you guys go. But, I was actually going to save this movie for last. But since we're talking movies that are sort of have like a 70s vibe and maybe endings that aren't
I think it's a good discussion regardless. I think it's a good discussion.
This kind of bleeds into it, but I'm not going to spoil it because I don't want to
spoil it. I don't want that also obfuscated with, I don't like unhappy endings either.
I got you. I think there's no misunderstanding in how we're feeling. This is why I like the discussion with it. Because I think in the chat even people are kind of mixed on it. There's different people that have
and that's perfectly fine.
So it's a fun. I think it's a fun discussion to see what people have with it, and I think in a way that's what makes it a better film than an edgy one because it at least creates this discussion of was this necessary or not? Was this a necessary decision or not? Especially if the rest of the film. Did you like the rest of the film up to the point?
It ruined the whole movie for me. I can't go back and watch it again. It ruined because especially knowing that knowing also that Stephen King did not change this ending. Frank Darabont changes this ending. he asked Stephen King if he could do this, and Stephen King
was
said,
Frank
yeah.
Frank was the director of the movie.
And I believe he also wrote it. Yeah,
I usually
he asked.
better than that.
Yeah, he asked Stephen King. He said, "Do you care if I do it like this?" And Stephen King said, "Oh, that's brilliant." And then
for some reason, I thought that Stephen King was more involved in the movies that were made of his.
Most of the time, is they slap his name on it. He has nothing to do with most of the films.
Okay.
But yeah, but anyway,
the one that he's badmouthed the most probably has been Kubrick's Shining.
Yeah,
it's like, motherfucker, of all the ones you're gonna just shut the fuck up.
Oh, right. And then they made a weird TV show or something.
He
improves
the TV movie. He improves the TV movie over Kubrick's.
Considering you're the motherfucker that directed Maximum Overdrive, I think I'll stick with Kubrick.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong, I love Maximum Overdrive and all. But it ain't exactly high fucking art, Steve.
Exactly.
Wait,
but
Hitchcock made Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
The original
one, yeah.
I gotta check this out. I didn't know this was an old ass one. What?
It's actually, I think, been remade a couple times.
Sorry. That just shocks me. Hitchcock made an original. I've never heard anybody talk about that version.
No, it's been around. But I'm gonna sort of keep it on this train a little bit about edgy movie. Well, this isn't an edgy movie, but movies that sort of have that 70s vibe to it with the ending that maybe. I mean, this still has sort of a happy ending, but I'm not going to spoil it. But it doesn't wrap up as well as some movies. But I don't know if you guys have seen Small Town Crime. This is from the director of Fat Man, the guys that directed Fat Man. This was their movie before Fat Man, with Mel Gibson and Walter Goggins. This is basically like, let's take a bunch of character actors and put them in this badass 70s sort of noir movie starring, what's his name here? John Hawkes, which you guys have seen him probably in a bunch of things. He's in Deadwood and everything. It's got John Hawkes, Anthony Anderson, Clifton Collins Jr., Robert Forster, and Octavia Spencer. Yes, and the Chevy Nova is badass. So the basis of this movie is, this is an awesome movie too, because I got to give it to the guys that made Fat Man. They know how to make a movie. John Hawkes' character here, he used to be a police officer, right? And he's this drunken guy who drives a Chevy Nova. And I'm not going to spoil too much of this because this is a noir detective thriller movie. And it feels, very old school. It's very old school. This is when we say they don't make movies like this anymore, they don't make movies like this anymore. So you find out that John Hawkes, he was kicked off the police force because one night he was out with this is not really spoilers because this is all presented, and I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to spoil too much. One night he's out with his partner. He's drunk and his partner is like yelling at him, and they pull over this car, and his partner tells him, "You stay in the car. You're drunk. I don't want you to help me." His partner goes out to the car and goes up to the window, gets shot in the head and dies, right? And then John Hawkes, he's drunk, right? So he gets out and he starts just like shooting because the guy gets out of the car. And he just starts shooting everywhere and hitting everything and hitting the car and everything. And he ends up killing the guy. And then when the police come and check out the scene, they open up the trunk of the car. The guy had a girl in the car, and John Hawkes' character actually killed the girl because he was drunk and he was firing. So he was kicked off the force. So now he's living this life as like this drunken guy driving a Chevy Nova around. His sister is actually Octavia Spencer, and his brother-in-law is Anthony Anderson because he was adopted. So that's why so that's pretty funny in that regard. And so he spends his day collecting his $1,000 out of work pay, whatever that's called, I can't remember, and getting drunk. So one night he gets drunk. And he wakes up in the middle of this field, and he gets in his car and he's driving, and he sees this girl on the side of the road, and he takes her to the hospital, and she ends up dying. And so what he wants to do is try to redeem himself, and he begins to investigate her murder. How she got there on the side of the road, and whatnot and everything. And he meets her grandfather, played by Robert Forster, who is this like a millionaire type guy. The girl ended up being like a prostitute. And the story sort of goes from there, and he's trying to figure out what happened to her, what's this all about. He's got his the cops breathing down his neck, and things don't always end great because he does things that he's not, like he actually sleeps with a prostitute so he can just get information and stuff like that. It's this really great, like old school movie that you don't see a lot of, and it's populated by these like character actors just like giving it their all in starring roles that you normally wouldn't see them in starring roles. And John Hawkes is brilliant in this, as just like, you know, trying to do the right thing, but also at the same time doing really stupid shit as well, trying to do the right thing. And it all comes to this like amazing ending. And I highly recommend it. If you neither one of you've never seen it, which you guys said you didn't.
Nope.
If you liked Fat Man, Tom, which I know you liked Fat Man and I like Fat Man, you'll definitely like Small Town Crime. It's very much in the same vein and very much with the same type of action and humor. And it's a really solid movie. It's a really solid movie that you don't see a lot of anymore. I believe it was made in 2017. And like I said, I'm not spoiling anything else after that. What I said is what I said. But not every character gets a happy ending at the end of the movie. You know what I mean? Like Rook was saying, it's nothing like as extreme as The Mist, but maybe the day is saved, maybe it's not, maybe things are happy, maybe it's not happy. So it just depends on how you look at certain characters. But I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it.
What was it called again?
Small Town Crime.
Small Town Crime.
Yes.
Cool.
Highly recommend it. It's a great movie. It's like, because like with the grandfather being this rich guy, Robert Forster, and you know, like they talk about how his granddaughter was raised strict, and maybe that's what caused her to turn to prostitution. And then like her pimp shows up, played by Clifton Collins Jr., and he's like, maybe instead of pointing fingers at me, why don't you look at your guys' self for what turned her into a prostitute? So it's got stuff like that in it. You know, it's like makes you think, like, you know, maybe if you would have treated her better instead of doing what you did, maybe she wouldn't have come to me. So that's the way I see it. So yeah, I recommend it. I recommend it.
Nice.
I was going to say that for later till after, but we started talking about the endings and stuff like that, and
yeah,
so that sort of has it sort of has something similar to that. Nothing extreme like The Mist or some of the other stuff we talked about.
I think that some endings should be sort of ambiguous. Some films deserve to have a letting you ponder on it, and it's that those type of endings are good for. Could there be a continuation in the future? Maybe, maybe not. Sometimes I think it's good to have it literally just be a question and not an answer ever. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. I mean, everything sort of gets wrapped up, but there's also like, what did it do to these people? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
the aftermath effect of it. And
yeah, what did it do to certain people? What did it do to other people? So yeah, that's where I'm going to leave it, because I don't want to spoil. Because like I said, it's a detective thriller. If I tell you the ending, then what's the point of watching it?
Right. We're supposed to be thinking about it as we watch the movie.
All you need to know is he's a drunk, washed up ex-cop who finds this girl on the side of the road, and he begins to investigate what happened to her. That's all you really need to know. That's the plot of the movie.
Sweet.
And an attempt for redemption to himself. And he's a little selfish, so.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you guys have it. But to you, who are we going to? Back to Rook. What do you got for us?
Yes.
Yeah.
Me. Well, you guys voted, or you guys said you want the bad pick now. So we had the obscure pick before. I'm saving the best pick for last. I wish it didn't land on this one. Last week after the show, Angus and I we were either going to watch Centurion, and then there was that movie with like the genie. It was like a recent movie that came out or something that she like knows all the history of genies or something. And this other one got thrown into the pile. We do like a pick, and flip a coin and see what ones we'll land on and get. And unfortunately, we landed on this abysmal failure piece of poop that everybody judged. And I thought I was going to maybe pull people and go, wait, hold on now. Maybe there's something here. No, I struggled to stay awake throughout it. Can you guess what it is? No, there's too many options. Gods of Egypt.
I've never seen it.
Don't ever watch it, FanZcene. It has Jaime Lannister from Game of Thrones in there. It's got Gerard Butler. It's got a Chadwick Boseman. It's got decent cast in here. But my God, they do nothing well in this movie. It looks like it's got a big budget, but holy crap, they make it look so ugly and disgusting. It's like all this gold and whatever chromish looks, but on sand, and it looks like the opposite Snyder filter dull.
You got
still.
Snyder on the brain tonight.
And well, it's because like Rebel Moon came out and stuff, and I've been hearing people talk about him all the time in different conversations lately. So that is my comparison. And filters is the comparison. It seems like they have like a goldish. It's not a gold filter on the thing, but there's so many things on camera that you can just tell from the poster. Like with the sand background, they give no color really other than red in it. It is so lame. They have like the gods like be taller. They have them look taller than the normal people. You see him grabbing him right there. And it's like, okay, that looks okay, I guess, but it's also kind of jarring. And the way
wait, is this true? Runner says by the writers of Madam Web.
I don't know.
Is this
look
true?
at the writers. I didn't look at the writers, so that's possible. I wouldn't fucking doubt it because these people have no idea what the fuck they're making, is what it seemed like.
Neither did Madam Web.
Yeah, well, no. So like, what I'm saying here is like, I think in Xena and Hercules they portray gods better. In that, like in this, they're just taller people that kind of go, "Shut up, mortal." But there's no like gravitas to them. There's nothing about them or the way they look or behave that makes you think that they're, a god. This is Egyptian gods of Egypt. Yeah, I'm wanting to get something kind of cool that goes into that. Troy doesn't really go into that. It's more the fighting war aspect, not the gods part and stuff. I thought this was gonna, tackle that kind of thing, and it just fucking doesn't. It's so like Clash of the Titans isn't great, but that's like a way better example.
He doesn't know it's a remake.
No, I've seen the old one. I've seen the old one too.
I was gonna say
I don't remember the old one enough to comment on. Okay, but if I'm saying the newer one, even though that one's not great, is way better than this. Is what I'm saying in terms of the portrayal of the gods and the quality of the film. Honestly, is way the Clash of the Titans is not great, but it is way better than Gods of Egypt, like 1,000 times better than Gods of Egypt. I was really struggling. 20 minutes in, they're having like a fight scene, and I'm just like struggling to stay awake. I'm just like, fuck, this is so lame. How do they make gods lame? Like, there's so much history and stuff you can do. Put them
in front of green screen, lots of CGI.
Just so shit.
Some really white
CGI
Egyptians.
Is all. They make them transform like. I'm like, why'd you transform into like a weird animal thing? And then they fight, and it's just lame. He steals this one guy's eyes. And then there's a little thief guy, and he's got to get it, and his girlfriend almost gets killed. And there's like, I'm just so bored throughout the whole movie. I'm just like, God damn, I don't care about anything going on. There's nothing funny, nothing cool. There might have been one like 10-second sequence of this one character. I don't even remember the name of the character or the act. You guys, who's the guy who is in Pirates of the Caribbean that was Davy Jones? I think he's in this too. I think he has like 10-second sequence where he performs a line well, but that's like, but it's still lame, like he like is performing okay, but it's all still lame. And he's in it for like less than 3 minutes. That's maybe the only part that is like, I'm not like cringing at that.
Bill Nye.
Yeah, that guy. He has like an okay scene, but even then it's still like not worth your time at all. Don't watch Gods of Egypt. I thought I could maybe pull out some slivers of comment of things that were. Nope, this is awful. It's fucking. Which is surprising. Again, the guy who played Jamie Lannister, and you got Gerard Butler, but 300 and shit. Like, how do you fuck it up? And they just do. There's no storyline in this that's interesting. There's no characters that are interesting. It's just all retarded. So,
that's what happens when you take people that you think are famous and put them in a really loaded movie that is shitty.
Yeah, that's the thing. It is loaded. There's so much jammed in here that I don't care. I'm just like, fuck me. I don't give a shit. Nope.
It was Jeffrey Rush.
Jeffrey Rush. Says. Yeah, or Barbosa. Sorry, no, he's right. Yeah, I was getting the actors mixed up. Yeah, exactly. But yeah. So yeah, that's another film you don't need to have on your shelves, guys.
Don't worry. I won't because I've never seen it. Yeah, there was a bunch of like type of movies come out like that back. Even Henry Cavill did one like that. Came out around the same time.
Really? What was it?
Immortals.
Oh shit! I've seen that, but I forgot about that entirely. That was another one of those movies that I was like, oh, that should be pretty cool. It's in the gods, and then it was just lame, and I was like, why? Why do they do it? Why can't they get that? We know so much about them and the history, the mythology, whatever. Like, how can you? It's so lame. Again, when Xena and Hercules get it done better, come on.
Yeah. Maybe he will make a comeback one day.
How old is Jeffrey Rush?
He's pretty old now.
Old timer. I don't know. I honestly don't know if he's interested in acting in too many things. I have no idea.
He's liable to make it. He always comes back. They'll come back.
I guess
eventually.
Harrison Ford still able to kick around. Anybody could be.
They'll come back eventually when they want to.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I can't say much on that. Never saw it. Never had an urge to.
Yeah. Tom's silence tells me he has not seen it, or he agrees. Just it's lame.
I bet he's never seen it. Not even a little bit. So.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's. I think at one point I'll get to the point where you guys are, where you will outright avoid certain movies. I'm still at the hopeful stage of things where I like give things chances, but then at some point I'll be disappointed too many times, which is stacking up pretty fucking quick, as you can tell. And then I'll be at that point too. I'll be like, no,
you need to find better movies there, Rook.
Yeah. Don't worry, I got plenty of good ones to go to. If anything, I've got so many saved up. Then it's like, I got all these good ones I can watch later. Get into all these snoozers, and then I'll get all these good ones. And there'll be nothing but Rook's picks are so great. God, so awesome. Oh, you finally saw that, Rook? That's awesome, sweet.
all right. But yeah, good. I can't even say good pick there, Rook.
Nope. Yeah, horrible pick.
At one point in time, we had
it should be, yes.
We had over 50 people watching at one point in time, and then you started talking about that, and now we're back down to 38. So.
Yeah.
Jesus. What did you do?
Take it away, Tom. Get people back in.
Lord. Are we doing that one now, Greg?
Yeah. Do you want to show yours first?
All right. Well, yeah, let's because
I think you have a different cover, don't you?
No, I think I got the same one you did. Yeah, because I didn't like the new one. I just went with the old one, and so I have an identical set.
Basket case. What's in the basket?
What's in the basket?
What's in the basket? And then
Can you tell which one's which? No.
Yeah, this is the one right there with the shiny red. Is the newer one here.
This one?
Yeah, that's
this one.
This I'm trying to figure out left or right here.
This one's the newer one.
Oh, I was wrong then.
The only difference is this one's got a little bit finer finish than this. This one's a little bit more tag boardy.
Yeah.
But otherwise they're identical. And of course this version comes with a poster as well.
Yeah.
And but yeah, no. Looks really good for a 16 millimeter film.
Looks great, doesn't it?
Looks really good. It's a ton of extras on here. If you've never seen the movie, you should. It's a really great classic independent film that shows what you can do with very little.
Just reminding off what you're talking.
And I mean, it looks even leaps and bounds better than the old Blu-ray release, which also comes from a 4K, I think the same 4K scan, but just in, the last few years, technology has gotten so much better that, I mean, it's a huge improvement over the other one already.
Let's shout off the poster real quick. Yeah, it does. And you mean like you were talking, it could possibly be an older scan, but it's still a great scan, actually, or pretty good scan. And the movie is the movie's insane. It's done by Frank. How do you say his name? Frank Henenlotter. Is that how you say his name? Yeah, Henenlotter, who also did Frankenhooker and
Brain Damage.
I wanted to say Street Trash for some reason, but it's Brain Damage. But no, this is great. It's essentially about this guy who's carrying around this basket in New York City. And it's very low budget independent film done. I mean, I love the grittiness of it. the grain in the film and the old school New York, like when he go ahead.
I just said, what's in the basket?
In the basket. Like when he's walking down the street, it's really cool to see like old New York when he's just that's legitimately like old New York where he's walking down and you see all these like XXX places and theaters and stuff like that when he's carrying the basket and he's walking down. It's so great. And just like the fact that this is essentially he's got his twin brother in the basket.
Well, the basic outline of the movie is it's about a guy and his brother who were Siamese twins. And one of the twins is extremely deformed.
Mm-hmm.
And he grew out of the side of the other twin. And when they were kids, they were forced to surgically get removed from each other, separated, however you want to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
So the plot of the film is ostensibly them as adults now tracking down the doctors who were responsible for this. So that's the basic outline for this.
Yes.
But it's got a very quirky sense of humor. It is almost satirical.
Mm-hmm.
The director knew exactly what they were doing. It is more of a send up of B/ drive-in exploitation films, but it's actually for how cheap it is. It's very competently put together.
Yes.
And even though there was limitations on how they could film it and what they could do, it's just kind of interesting at the story, the idea, the concept. And how well it was executed for what little they had, right? And yes, obviously his twin brother's in the basket.
Yeah.
And that would be Belial.
Yes,
it's about the Bradley brothers, Doug and Belial. And Belial is just a beloved, undersung horror icon, I would say.
Yeah.
He doesn't have enough love, sadly enough.
He doesn't.
And I know you wanted to watch the sequels, but you didn't get a chance to yet.
I didn't get a chance to. They accidentally actually come in quite just yet. But go ahead. Do you want to go into them, or do you want to talk?
We can, but I mean, what's funny about this film is this is basically a different version than we saw that would have been released theatrically originally. Frank wanted to release it as an unrated film, right? He's like, that's the whole point. The gore is over the top on purpose. The exploitative nature of the movie is over the top on purpose. When you cut that down, it made it more disturbing. So in its initial run, it didn't do very well. And it was Joe Bob Briggs who actually got the movie rediscovered because he wanted to show it at one of his Austin film festivals. And I think there's even a special thanks or whatever on there, an interview with him and all that.
Yeah, you got a special feature. I was going to show that, but people probably can't read that. So
and he was going to he went to get the film reel to show it at the festival, and the director himself called and said, I just wanted to let you know the version they're sending you out is not my preferred version. So he called the studio and said, if it's not the uncut version, then I don't want it.
Right.
And so from that moment on, he got a hold of the uncut version, and then they re-released the movie in the uncut version, and that's when it became the cult classic that it is now. Between the midnight showings, it was one of those movies that was shown at the Beverly for like 2 years straight at midnight. It became a cult classic that way, like Rocky Horror before it and a few others. And then of course video came along and it became a video store staple, right? Like it wasn't like, it was almost like Requiem that you had to have this movie to be considered a video store. You know? It was just one of those things. It always went right next to your Night of the Living Dead. You know what I mean? Like you had to have that.
There,
And it's a fun film. It's a very fun film. And because it doesn't take itself so damn seriously, I think is why it works. It's not quite satire in the way like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes is, but it's definitely tongue in cheek, not quite wink wink at the camera, but just about.
Yeah,
you know
it's
what
like
I mean?
Almost on the verge of doing that. Yeah.
Right. And when we get to the sequels, sorry, I didn't mean to go off camera. I meant to stay on. As we get to the sequels, which this is, I got a bitch about the cover for the second film. This is one of the laziest posters ever. If you'll notice a similarity. And I'm not a big fan of the alternate artwork either, so that's why I keep it on that one. But notice a laziness
like the
there.
Same one, but just colorized.
The exact same poster. And I would use the other one, but I'm not a fan of the Belial that look the weird drawing.
Yeah, that's why I switched it around myself.
But the second film and the third film were basically filmed a year apart. The second film was a movie that they tried to get Frank to make for years.
Mm-hmm.
And he just didn't really want to do it. And, he's like, the main characters are dead, kind of pointless. I don't really think there's anything much more I have to say with it. From time to time, it would kind of be more of a burden to him because he'd go in and try and get an idea made and I would be like, yeah, no, I'm not interested in that. But what about Basket Case 2? So it'd be kind of like the pain in his butt for 10 years that he didn't want to have to do another one because he didn't really have anywhere to go with it. But he finally had a few ideas. And you can clearly tell he was inspired by Freaks, the classic horror film.
Mm-hmm.
And he used Basket Case 2 to get Frankenhooker made. I don't know if you knew that.
That I did not know, but that makes sense. It makes sense.
Because he came in with the idea for Frankenhooker to this guy he had known for a while who was starting up a production company. He's like, I like the idea and I want to do it. But what about Basket Case 2? And he's like, yeah, I think maybe we could do a Basket Case 2. He's like, I'll tell you what, why don't we do a deal? I think it was for $3 million. $1.5 million would be spent on one, $1.5 million on the other, I think was the final deal made. So, I mean, they spent, like 3 times as much on Basket Case 2 as they did the first film. And it shows.
Yeah.
I mean, Belial looks amazing in it. They add all the freaks. And it really kind of leans the story more into what's weird is the movie kind of shifts into, and the second and third film are very much in the same kind of tone.
Yeah.
Kind of shifts it into a almost like a kid-friendly, although it's not, kid-friendly version of Trauma. It's the best way I can explain it.
It makes sense because like this family of freaks in this home.
Yeah, it's just weird, but I dig it. Like the ending is the only part of it I don't like. And this has an ending, Rook, that almost feels like they're just trying to parallel with the first movie, and a character dies for no good fucking reason.
Yeah.
You agree with me or not, Greg?
Yeah, I agree with
you. But
you.
I felt like it was the only bad part of the film.
Yeah. I agree with you. I haven't seen it in many, many years, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I agree. It's kind of like, well, why would you do that? What's
and the reaction that you get out of, and it's probably the worst movie for Doug because he is, and I know he's dealing with a lot of shit, but it's just, it has him acting really fucking out of character to where finally when we get to the third film, we get more regular, like feels like Doug is finally settled back into being Doug again. Like I really love Doug in part 3. Like he is better. He's back to form. And in some ways people hate part 3, but outside of a couple things that happen in it, and it kind of just being, what's the word I'm looking for? Even wackier than the second film.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no issues with it. I think both of them are they feel very much of the same vein. It almost feels like there should have been another one after this, but they never did make one. But yeah.
Yeah, I wonder why they. I mean, I guess that was where it
ended.
Yeah. Yeah, I did forget that in Brain Damage they do make I believe they're on a train in Brain Damage, or the bus. One, he's holding him in the basket or something, if I remember.
What's in the basket?
Wow, what's in the basket? Yeah, but I've not seen the second and the third one in years. Well, I haven't even seen the first one in years. But I was really wanting to have them here so I could watch them because I knew you was going to be bringing them. And
we can talk more about them next week then. Yeah,
if I get them. But yeah. It's just, they're these crazy fun movies. And like you said, Belial is a bit of an undersung horror icon, And I'm glad he's sort of getting his due a little bit here with this.
Wait, what?
That's the noise he makes all the time.
That's what he does, yeah. That's how he talks. I believe in the second and third one, don't they molded the actor that plays
they did in the first film too. It always has been.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's just the weird thing was
more like him.
Yeah, well, because it kind of like deformed in the first place, so they're like, "Oh, it's kind of perfect." No, Belial is like this weird. He's an almost cool design in a sense that it's almost an accident. You know what I mean? Because they didn't design it for ease of access to puppet.
Right.
Because that's one of the biggest problems they had in the first film was puppeting Belial, where they literally had one. I can't remember if it was one of the production people or somebody's daughter come in, or the director's daughter or something. I can't remember who it was. It wasn't the director's daughter. It was one of the producer's daughters, I believe, or the actor's daughters. But they come in and she's actually puppeteering Belial in one of the scenes because they couldn't get anybody small enough to be able to reach up in there and do all the stuff they needed Belial to do.
Right.
So in that first film, he barely moves. And the stop motion scenes are probably the coolest scenes in the whole film, even though the director thought about leaving him out up until the very end. He said he literally got so pissed off at him, he threw the reel across the room and it laid on the floor for months. Because he didn't like how it looked.
Yeah.
And it was just, but no, like he's got this weird sense of humor. It's kind of in the vein of a trauma thing, but not quite over that line.
Yeah.
It's not over the satire line to where it's so self-aware of itself. It still takes itself seriously enough. I mean, I'm surprised they haven't tried to remake it already. So, I mean, you could almost do it's almost one of those movies that is so stuck in the time frame that it is in that I'm surprised that a new update hasn't been done yet. So, yeah.
I'm kind of glad they haven't, because I wouldn't like it personally. Especially, you could probably play a lot on it in today's modern sensibilities with the world we live in with these deformed characters and stuff. But I'm glad it hasn't been remade. But I really did enjoy the first one. I hadn't seen in years. I thought it looked great. I loved seeing old New York. I love seeing, like you said, it's got this very funny tone to it. Even the first one, which is a little more serious than the second and third one, it's still got this like funny tone to it. Like when he's drinking at the bar with the hooker that lives in the building, and he's telling her all about his brother and stuff, and he's all drunk and stuff. It's just like a pretty solid movie. And I'm happy to have this 4K.
It's a little slow moving, but there's enough. It's kind of surprised when you sit back and realize, holy shit, there's a pretty big body count in the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, because they managed to add in a few through the flashbacks, right? Like that's how they do. And I like how the story's told, because you're just kind of thrust into the story with you're asking yourself, like, what's in the basket? You know what I mean? For the first however many minutes of the film. And then you're started to get fed, and then you're not really given that exposition dump until he spills his guts to the hooker lady.
The prostitute. Yeah.
And I can't remember her name, but she's the actress that's been in every one of his movies too. And she gets third billing. I'm trying to remember her name. I can't remember the character name either, but either way, point being is like he spills his guts to her when he's drunk, and that's when we get the whole backstory of what's really going on there. And that's almost 2/3 of the way through the movie.
Yeah, that's like almost like it gets approaches near the.
I mean, you kind of have an idea before that, but he spills it all out there, and you kind of get the whole backstory there. And
Beverly Bonner.
Beverly Bonner, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, but because he's getting drunk and he's like, and he's very good. He's got this innocence to him. Like I can hear him in my head, but he's so much more powerful than I am.
And that's something I didn't know about until watching. There's a great 90-minute making of all three films on this Blu-ray. And I did not really know this about the film. Looking back on it this time, I tried to pick it out a little more. But Dwayne said there's moments where he's Dwayne and there's moments where he's Belial. But Belial will pretend to be Dwayne. So like you can kind of just tell in the difference in his acting. And this is just in the first movie, because after that they're separated.
Yeah.
But like when he's running down the street, that's Belial in his head. That's an obvious one.
Yeah.
But like I think part of when he's talking to her, like whenever he would go in with the kind of look on his face, that's when he's Belial. So there's moments because Belial talks through him is what it is. So like he's kind of trying to explain that and all that stuff. So it's this really weird kind of thing that got set up there, and it's kind of cool how they kind of stick with it through the movie, and then after the second film, they have their separation, and that's part of the problem that Dwayne's trying to come to terms with. And Belial as a character, I mean, he's pretty. He's interesting. because he does. He's interesting as a character, especially when you get to the sequels, because he has such, what's the word I'm looking for? Agency or whatever in the script, in the story, for being such a voiceless character, really.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Falls in love and everything.
You know, falling in love, the choices he makes, what he allows Dwayne to get away with, what he doesn't allow Dwayne to get away with, you know, kind of how he's keeping Dwayne held to these double standards. But is he really, though? Because, you know, Dwayne did tell him that they were going to stick together no matter what, and all the other things that they had going for them. And just the whole way that they both struggle with their losses and their gains in the films. And you really start to give a shit about these guys by, the end of the film.
Yeah.
Regardless of how nasty that, you know, the Belial can be. And that's what I love about when you get into the kind of nature of, because Annie Ross as a character is another one that's kind of overlooked too. It's where she's as Auntie Rose or whatever her name is.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, because she's like, even when Belial's at his worst, she still understands Belial. You know what I mean? Like, she even still holds Doug to a higher standard than she does Belial. It's just the funny way you kind of watch these characters interact. And it's like, even though it's satirical and funny in a way, they really did put a lot of thought into the dynamic of these characters and how they work together. And that's what's important about these movies, I feel, first and foremost, is that they are very good character pieces. And you do give a shit about the characters. You do know the characters. Yeah. And, you know, especially when you're introduced with a whole new slew of characters in the sequels, like, you start to give a shit about the new freaks, and you care about, and stuff like that. So, like, and the babies and stuff, not to give too much away, but I mean, it's kind of obvious from the cover that Belial has a lot of baby Belials. So, like, oh, sorry.
But yeah,
which some people still have a few of them, even though they're like basically falling apart and decaying and crusty now. But yeah,
even more scarier now than they were then.
The baby Belials are pretty.
The baby Belials, yeah.
Did you watch any of the special features on here yet?
I have not yet, because I just watched the movie. But I was really wanting to get into the Joe Bob Briggs interview and the documentary and stuff they got on here.
The documentary is great. Joe Bob just pretty much tells the main story I just said before.
Just so you said, yeah.
But there's another bit on here that's kind of funny. It's an interview kind of situation. It's called Basket Case 3.5.
Yeah, I saw that. I was wanting to see that too.
Did you watch that?
No, I haven't.
It's just this like little 10-minute thing with Doug, and it's interviewing him in his obvious actual home that he lives in now.
Oh yeah.
But he's playing Doug again, so it's picking up 20 years after the fact. And he talks about where Belial's at now, what the babies are up to, and all that kind of shit. It's kind of funny. I
see that now. That's what I was wanting to get. I haven't got to this special feature because there's so many, and I just watched the movie, and like I said, I haven't had a whole lot of time here. So
he's like, yeah, the babies, they're doing well. They live in the woods. It's like, do you see them every once in a while? Yeah, sometimes one of them will show up on the porch.
That's funny. I gotta say.
And Belial lives in his own little shed, because that's the whole thing, is they got to keep it quiet. So he's like, we got to be quiet, because if Belial finds out we're here, we're in trouble. Or finds out you guys are here, and all this stuff. It's like, it's a cute little thing that they do. Just
that's cool. That's cool.
On the side.
That's cool. And it's amazing how like they turn these movies like this murderous little thing into somebody that you can root for. And it's funny because you never thought you would get that far into and then you, like you said, you come to care for them, and you do. So it's an interesting turn. Frank Henenlotter, he has some weird thoughts in his head.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
Well, and he worked uphill battle with the third film too. When you get into that documentary, you'll hear, all the changes. They even tried getting him to do it PG-13 at one moment, and you can almost see why they did. It's like, you could have almost made it PG-13, but at the end of the day, I wish they would have just let him do the full-on version that he wanted to do in the first place. So,
yeah.
Because both 2 and 3 are actually rated R, believe it or not. So, yeah.
I mean, it's always best to let the guy, do what he's going to do, and not interfere.
But 2 probably has the best fun stuff as far as like gore and just body count wise. I think it has No, actually, 3 might have a bigger body count. I have to think about that.
Isn't 3 the one where he like makes a mech suit, sort of?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the alien mech suit or whatever.
So he kills like a whole police force. And also, so yeah, I think 3 might have the bigger body count, but that's the scene where Frank was all upset because like when the cops are all getting killed, like some of it's still gory, but like the one cop that gets his head squeezed and his eyeballs bulge out and his teeth bulge out, there's supposed to be blood spurting out of him at the same time. That's why it looks so bad, he said. But the studio wouldn't let him do the blood.
Oh, that sucks.
So yeah, it was like, okay, that kind of sucks. Okay.
Yeah, you know,
if you ever see these,
man.
you'll appreciate them just for especially the first one, anyways, for the guerrilla filmmaking style of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, you know, what's that saying? You know, from the hip or whatever.
Yeah, from him. Like I do know the story. Like I did hear the guy Dwayne tell the interview about him running down the street naked in New York.
Yeah,
they didn't close anything off. They just like didn't clear out the thing. They just did it. They're like, hey, okay.
Well, it's because he lived in Greenwich Village and he knew at a certain time of day that Greenwich Village just died.
Yeah,
he's like after the rush hour, he's like everything dies, and then there's a certain point in the morning where it's just completely dead. Yeah. And they knew that they could get away with him running down the street naked without anybody saying shit.
With no permits or anything. They just like they said they marked off a link that he needed to run, and they said just go for it.
Well, he actually did it a few times, and he'd run from car to car. They said basically they had like 2 or 3 cars, and they'd move him down the street, and you know because they shoot him a few times, but like there's even a whole thing of outtakes on here that I see. That's the thing. I don't think there's anything added to this version that wasn't on the version I had before, but. The new version obviously doesn't have any Blu-ray in it, so I mean,
yeah, it's just the 4K.
Yeah, but no, the 4K is a huge improvement. So I think we've talked about the movies enough for Rook.
Yeah, Rook. Well, Rook bored us with Gods and Monsters. So it's a weird. It's a good movie. I mean, I thought it looked really good, and I like that it's presented in its original aspect ratio. So yeah. All right, Rook. What do you got for your last pick of the night?
All right. Well, you guys will like this
good one.
Well, you should know. I spoiled it in the chat earlier. I watched The Rock.
The Rock.
The Rock, my friends. This was another one that I probably saw a long time ago, but I only remembered there was like a shower scene. I don't remember what happened really. So rewatched it, and a very fun, surprisingly good Michael Bay movie. But I mean, everybody likes this one as far as I could tell. I haven't heard anybody say they hate this one, unless what do you do?
No, I like it.
No, okay. Wasn't sure or not, but no, I enjoyed it. Just the chase scene alone that they have in it when Sean Connery's trying to get to his daughter, that was a big fun. Like, I wonder how much that cost alone to get all that, just all the destruction there. He's good at making military look cool. Like, you know, it's like, oh damn, military, yeah. Like it makes me think of Transformers, you know, like like as far as like the military portrayed in there, they try to make them seem cool instead of like, you know, just I don't know, some type of pussies or not as established or something. He really makes sure that the military gets some points in there. There's some okay.
So that's your best movie.
There's some okay scenes in here where they're close up, like you know when the soldiers enter the shower room and they're arguing and they're both not giving their ground, and then they have the shootout. That was a good scene. Toward the end when there's like the mutiny with the guy, that was also pretty good for Michael Bay, especially. Like for Michael Bay, that's really good.
This is your best. Your best. Losers always whine about their best.
Yes.
Winners go home and fuck the prom queen.
Is this where that quote started from?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. No, I've heard that quote for a long time, and I didn't know that was from The Rock. And so when I heard that here, I was like, "Is this part of the trend, or did they set the trend?" I don't know.
Set the trend.
But they set the trend.
Let me guess. You don't know the other famous internet theory about this movie either, do you?
I know it.
Is it like a prequel to National Treasure or something?
No, it's a sequel.
No. Oh, a sequel to it. Okay.
It's a sequel to Not National Treasure, though.
Oh, I have no idea.
That he's James Bond.
Shaken, not stirred.
Oh, right. Yeah, that would make sense, I guess.
He had
The
a
amount of
license to
time he's
kill,
gone.
so they store him away in the best prison there was, and he's the
Oh,
only
right.
man
They said
who
he
ever
was
escaped.
British. Doesn't have his name. Okay, yeah. That makes sense.
There's a theory
Why
it's
not?
a James Bond sequel. Since he is the original James Bond.
Right, and all his skills they're not too specific with everything. It's just enough. Like, oh, he has this, that, does all these things that you could line up and point to a Bond. I assume. But no, this was good. Nicolas Cage, he has some of his Cageisms, but I feel like he's not trying to be his typical wacky Cage in this. He's trying
Pretty
to
low
be,
key, Cage.
Honey,
I mean,
you want to know who killed JFK?
yeah.
I got the microfilm.
Yes. This was very enjoyable. I liked it. I want to see this in like a theater. This was fun.
I saw it in the theater.
So did I. I was just about to say that.
Yeah, I like when he's describing how deadly the thing is as he hands it to him. Don't move it though. Like he's like, oh, Connery's not really saying much, but he's reacting. He's like, oh shit. Okay, this is dangerous. Okay, wow, okay. Shit.
There's damn green anal beads.
The only thing that I think would maybe I feel like Michael Bay does pretty good in this, but I feel like some of his characters could use improvements a little bit.
This is before Michael Bay was Michael Bay. This was
so how many
did he have? Boys.
How many did he have under his belt at this time?
Bad Boys, this, and Armageddon, I think. Or did Armageddon come after this? Armageddon
came after this, yeah.
So Armageddon's basically when Michael Bay became Michael Bay. Mm-hmm. This and Bad Boys were his first two movies were like guys like me were like, this guy's got something. He's going to be a great director. Yeah. Like I almost coined him as like, he's going to be like the action version of Spielberg, right? Like everything he's going to touch is going to be gold. Boy, was I fucking wrong.
Yeah.
But I mean, didn't he like have Jerry Bruckheimer and them? And
Don. This is the last Don Simpson.
Yeah, they had them. So they kind of reined him in a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
rumor has it he did cocaine with me that night.
The soldiers that mutiny against the guy,
they
come off a little more of the tip, like, you know, I guess the tropey villain sort of thing. Like, what do you mean? We need to kill those millions of people. It's just like,
you know, Ed Harris is playing a complete nut bar, right? Like,
right,
yeah,
that's the beauty of sympathy for him by the end of the movie.
Yes and no. I mean, his crew could clearly see that he's gone, right? Yeah. Like he's fucking gone.
Wait, so the actor who played the Vietnam guy, that's Ed Harris? Okay, yeah. I really liked him in this role too for that. He's like, you know,
he's usually good in everything he does.
He's the soldier man. He's trying to make a point against his country, but he's not actually trying to get people killed. And the shower, that's why I like the shower scene too, because he did not want to kill anybody, even though he's like threatening them.
All right, you're right. That way, it wasn't Ed Harris who went nuts. It was the other guy, wasn't it?
The other actor, yeah.
Shit. You know, it's been like 10 years since I watched that movie.
Yeah. But
I can't remember that quote, but I play it all the time for Meat Radio.
It's just, to me, like, the movie didn't really set up why that guy was going crazy or anything, or like, they're just, I just want to kill all these people.
Queen.
And it was just like, okay. Yeah. It's like, those are like the only things I'd really improve is like some of his characters could be a little bit better, but even then he still works really well with it.
You can tell he's starting to get his style.
Yeah, this was a good. There's a lot of setups and payoffs as well. That like for Michael Bay, I was like, whoa, what? Like setups and payoffs that, you know, they're not super significant, but it's like satisfying that they're there. Small things, even like they're going over like equipment that they're putting on the plane. They're like saying things, you know, green flares. That means it's good. That's not like, you're probably not absorbing that, but like, you know, when they're gonna strike the island. And everything's, you know, and they're like, oh, but we succeeded. How do we stop the flares? You know, it's like that. I don't know. Like, that's a small thing. That's like, how can you stop that? How are you going to get them? How are you going to let them know that you just succeeded and the radio things are out or something? And I don't know. It's like small things here and there. So that was good. This movie's good. It's a good one.
Pretty solid. It's a pretty solid movie. It's that is like I agree with Tom. It's like when Michael Bay first made that, and some of those like the Bad Boys, you're like, okay, this guy's pretty cool. And then, of course, we see where he went. But no, he had a great cast in this too with Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery and Harris.
It felt like they're taking it serious, even though they're having fun. Like a lot of the characters are like kind of, you know, they do the typical thing where they don't treat it all that like oh, I can go through this thing. But then there's scenes where they take it serious, where they're not joking, it seems.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's missing in a lot of his other films, where you can really feel that they're trying to mean it, as to where like in Transformers and stuff, where it's like you're still kind of like playing it, video game-esque.
Well, and beyond Michael Bay, like the thing about Don Simpson Bruckheimer films is they almost feel like they're taking place in their own universe. Like there's this hyper realistic universe somewhere where Beverly Hills Cop, Top Gun, Flashdance, The Rock, all Bad Boys all happened in the same place. You know what I mean? Like
right.
Yeah.
One of them, if they wanted to reference something, could reference something.
Yeah, because they have the same hyper realistic feel to them that just like they all feel like they kind of exist on the same like level. Even though Beverly Hills Cop is probably the more grounded of the bunch,
right?
But still,
yeah. I mean, small thing, the needle to the heart thing. That's something I feel like a lot of people would have a lot of issues with, and I like that kind of setup for the character, and that they spend the time with Cage's character that he's not suited for this, and it's not just a get your shit together, geek boy, you're gonna be with us now. Like they do it, he does it better here compared to other films where the military guys have to work with a geek nerd. I feel like this one does that well.
And that world always has amazing music.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think of specific.
Out to sea.
I'm trying to think of specific things to comment on too. I mean, I like again the chase scene was really done really well too. I do like small moments where they have I don't know, just a little bits of the characters, even from the Marines, because you don't get to spend time with all the Marines. But each of them kind of have their own attitude a little bit. Some of them are more hesitant to kill somebody compared to the rest. And when Sean Connery starts killing them as well, it's like, in a way, I was kind of like, is he going to try to not kill them because they are like U.S. soldiers? Nope.
Well, they were traitors, so
well, yeah, but still, like, especially for the Nicolas Cage's character, I do like how when he first shoots somebody, it's not like he does that earlier on at some point. It kind of builds up to him getting the courage to shoot somebody. Well, he started without a gun anyway, and then got one, and he's getting more into it.
He's not a soldier. He's not a killer. Whereas Sean Connery's character is a soldier, is a killer.
Yeah,
and I'm comparing it to no qualms about it.
I mean, I'm comparing it to other stuff that Michael Bay has made, where he has a similar type of character like this guy, but he usually, I don't know, I feel like he does way worse in other ones where he has like a geeky character or a non-soldier character.
Yeah.
And he always does them so horrible in them is what I think. And so this was like a good version of that. Or to even say a good version, I'd say it does fine. I feel like it could still be better. But like you said, this is like early on with the things. Like I feel like there's just small tweaks that would make it even better, but it's still good. And just I like that. Yeah, I'd find there's not one dull moment in this where I'm like, can you please move it the fuck on? No, this is well paced. The hairstylist is super. I think that's a trope he has too. He makes like black characters very eccentric when they say stuff. Man, get that stuff out of here. And the gays are super gay, and the military guys are usually, we're super formal. We're gonna do this. The military is badass and cool. That's this type of mission. Have you done that before? And like just, I think he has those kind of tropes in his movies, right? Or cliches.
Everything is done big. Big and bold, Michael Bay. That's how he does it.
Yeah.
No, that at least you finally picked something that was watchable. Because the first two movies, you just might as well get rid of them.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's why I was like, man, I shouldn't start with The Rock because then it's just gonna be downhill from there. So it's like, let's save the best for last and end on a better note.
No, you're right. It's a pretty solid movie. I do like The Rock. It's a really good movie. It's got a great cast, great music. It's good Nicolas Cage, good Sean Connery.
The music's fun, yes.
Yeah, so it's all around. It's pretty decent. Pretty good movie. I like it. I like it a lot.
Hell yeah.
But, yes, good pick there. And good night, Brian Barth. Thank you for hanging with us tonight, as always. With that, Tom, do you want to go for? Is this your last pick, or?
I think this is my last pick. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I have one, and we'll be done.
All right. Well, I just got a bug up my butt, and I wanted to watch House Party. And I do have the old DVD, the snapper case, as you see here.
I was actually going to Myself, I watched the first two actually already, but I have all four of them in a set. I didn't bring them on.
Well, so I went and bought the first two digitally because they are HD digitally, although they look like hell.
Mm-hmm.
But much better than not much better, but better than the DVD anyway, because this DVD is older than sin. It's actually older than my kid, and I shit you not.
Yeah.
You might have been pretty young when this movie was released on DVD. Rook 2000 is when this DVD came out.
He was just a pup.
Just a pup. But no, the movie's fun and the sequel's fun too. I actually ordered the DVD of the sequel and it just hasn't got here yet.
Yeah.
Part 3 is only in standard def for some reason, so I'm just gonna get the DVD of that. But I always thought I had all 3 of them, but evidently I did not. I did back in the day on VHS. They were ones throughout high school that were go-tos for, any weekend get together. So yeah, no, they're classic films. I don't know what that remake thing was all about a few years back.
I never watched it, but
I don't know what those other 2 sequels that were straight to video crap are all about. But yeah, they have no bearing on this film here. The first 3 films though are very, very good films. Surprisingly, I went back and checked their box offices, and 2 and 3 did pretty well considering. The first film, of course, did better, but not by much. Only by $5 million. But considering how low budget they were and what they were at the time, and people even forget probably that Kid and Play also had an animated Saturday morning TV show.
Yeah.
And I went back and I watched a couple, like an episode almost, not a whole episode because it was kind of unbearably dumb. But I didn't realize they didn't have them doing their own voices in the show. I'm like, well, that's lame. Yeah. But Martin Lawrence does like 2 voices in the show, which is weird. Yeah.
How'd they get Martin Lawrence?
And he doesn't even play Belial. Speaking of Belial.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Weirder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's like, well, you got him there. Why don't you just have him play the same character? Because it's almost the same exact fucking setup. Right? Like, they even got the bullies, even though they're completely different. They're in high school still. It's like almost like might as well be House Party, the cartoon. But that being said, no, like the first 3 films are really well done. Movies, they follow along a storyline really good. You wouldn't expect it, especially by a third film. And even though the third film is not nearly as good as the first 2.
No.
But they almost kind of have like that American Pie kind of feeling to them.
They do.
Especially by the time you get to the third film, because the third film's about a wedding.
Which I always had a little bit of a problem with that one, especially considering with the first 2 and the girl he was after, you know. And then by the third one, it's also makes it a little more realistic, to be honest with you. So,
well, it's kind of like in Nutty Professor 2. We went from Jada Pinkett Smith to Janet Jackson. Yeah. Nobody said shit. Yeah, they're not playing the same character either. It's just like, okay,
yeah.
How do you pull that shit off?
Exactly. But it's like even she makes an appearance in the third movie, like she's there at the party.
Well, at that point, if I remember right, here's the thing you got to remember. The first 2 movies were done back to back, which is weird because it was like New Line was getting away from Freddy and doing really well, even though they did have a Freddy movie come out in 91. They had Ninja Turtles and House Party in 1990, which did very well, and House Party 2 and Ninja Turtles 2 in 1991 that also did very well. House Party 3 took until 1994 to happen. And part of that, I believe, is because Class Act, which is where they went over to Warner Brothers, a bigger studio, and they made a quote-unquote bigger movie, and it made less money than the House Party films did. So by 94, they came back to House Party, and yeah, they didn't have... Tisha Campbell, and Martin doesn't even show up in it because I believe at that time Martin was already on the air, was what I was getting to.
Yeah.
And if you remember, Tisha is his co-star in that. So I think that's all they could muster is to get her on for a cameo, and they couldn't get Martin at all.
Yeah.
So like in that respect, but hey, by that time, your third film, 5 years since the original film almost. It feels like they actually let the time pass. Like you said, it feels like a more natural thing.
It feels real.
Bernie Mac fills in for Robin Harris, which is great. The cast is, oh my God, they got shit ton of people in the fucking cast.
Right?
Of the third one. But no, the second and the first film are the 2 better films, of course.
Yeah.
I don't know if you really care for the sequels as much, but
No, I only like the first 3 movies.
I mean, as far as I meant the first 2, 3, I don't count the other shit. That shit don't count.
Yeah. I don't know. I like all 3 of the originals. I like all 3 of them. Like I said, the only problem I really had was with the Tisha Campbell thing. But also at the end of the day, now that I'm older and I can look back on him, it's like it feels more real. It does. It feels because that unobtainable girl that he's pined after in the first 2 movies, from high school into the first year of college, that was really never going to last. And then by the 3rd movie, you're like, okay, I kind of like this new girl, even though I kind of wish you would. But then you're like you said, they're very much like American Pie, so like fleshes it out. It feels real, so I like it. I like it. Yeah.
Well, and it helps that they feel like real characters, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm surprised how well the first 2 held up. I haven't watched the 3rd one yet, so I'll have to get back to you on that one next week. But maybe by then you'll have the other ones too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
felt like they held up pretty good, and I haven't watched them in 10, 15, 20 years probably. So
same here. I was going to bring them on because I have it has 1, 2, 3, and the 4th one.
What?
It's the DVD set. It comes with 1, 2, and 3. Oh yeah.
That fucking 4th thing came out. Well, that's the only reason we got the first 3 on DVD, and that's why I swear I had the first 3.
Yeah.
But maybe the first one was. Now that I think back, the 2nd and 3rd one didn't come out at the same time. I don't think. Because just the first one and then part 4 came out on DVD at the same time, I think. Because I had my video store when part 4 came out. And I remember I had a bunch of copies of it because I got it for cheap. But that's one I never even hung on to. I got rid of. Because it wasn't even meant to be a house party movie. It was just a movie about a house party. Then Warner Brothers bought it and slammed fucking House Party's name on.
Good old movies like that, right?
Other movie that I don't even know if it's actually even involved, but it uses the same kind of logo. Can't remember what it's called. It's like House Party something or other. It came out.
Yeah, it is like Next Generation or not Next Generation. No, something weird. And then I never bothered with the remake. I saw the trailer and I was like, nope. I was like, I'm done. That's why
Tonight's the Night is what it's called.
Oh, Tonight's the Night.
It's the 5th and final installment. So yeah, it is considered one of the House Party films, even though it has nothing to do with the other ones. So yeah, my guess is it's well, this was meant to be more of a. Oh no, that was talking about the reboot. Okay, so I'm trying to find. I'm like, my guess is this was probably a movie that was made and they just slapped. It was probably called Tonight's the Night, and then they just slapped House Party.
We'll just call it a House Party movie,
like the National Lampoon's kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I've never even seen that thing. I don't even know.
Yeah, I've like I said, I think I seen a little bit of the so-called 4th one, and I was like,
I watched it. It's horrible.
Yeah, I never watched it all the way through. But is Classic out on DVD or Blu-ray?
Warner Archive DVD. I have it on digital. That's it.
Okay. I haven't seen that one in years. I remember liking that one.
All these need a Blu-ray, or at least the hell, a 4K would be nice.
I'm really surprised these haven't got Blu-rays for real.
Cat's molesting the controller again.
Mm-hmm. And now we got to see the butthole right on your face.
I see he cleaned off his desk this week.
Oh, we didn't see if they had food on the bed.
I didn't see no food yet.
Yeah, I didn't see no food on the bed.
I think he made sure he didn't have any.
Oh, that's what I need to add. That's what I need to add to the intro. The food on the bed. Ding.
Now you just need to make clips.
It's like it's be a separate thing to just play it like after we. Hey, and Rook, how's your room?
If he has
ding,
it,
ding, 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 ding.
No, I had fun watching them again. It's been a while. I just kind of got a bug on my butt. I'm like, I haven't watched them in a bit. I thought I'd see if they were in digital HD at least.
I don't blame you. They're good movies. I mean, that's what always gets me. Like we've talked about this before. Is like we liked movies like that back in the day. We had movies like that back in the day.
Yeah.
You have to say like that. You have to say like this. We liked movies like that back in the day.
There was never any people of color in any movies till 2016.
Color people weren't invented until the 70s.
In fact, I think the only white people in the first movie are the cops.
Yeah. It's true. It's like those never existed till 2016. What are you talking about? It's like
demographically, you and I, Greg, this wouldn't even be a movie that was made for us necessarily outside of the teenage demographic.
That's very true. Very true. And yet it was very popular amongst us.
Oh hell yeah.
Go figure. It's almost like they just made an entertaining movie, and it just happened to, maybe sometimes they dealt with some black stuff in it, but it was never.
I was gonna say it doesn't really matter if you're black or white. A lot of the things in the film are pretty universal.
Exactly, it's just like
if you're a teenager,
party,
right? You know, going to a house party as a teenager, getting hassled by the cops as a teenager. Yeah, I'm sure it's probably a much more different for, especially at that time, for a black person. But
there's a little bit of that here and there, but nothing like.
But it was actually, it's funny how they handle it in this film too.
Mm-hmm.
Like they almost handle it with a little bit of comedy to it, because the cops are like overly trying not to be racist and in their humor, but then at the end they end up kicking the shit out of the bad ones anyway.
They did. They beat the shit out of the 3 guys, and those 3 guys look like they're 30 years old too,
because they're like overly racist in their pandering, or however you want to put it, with their bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, now repeat after me. I'm somebody. Yeah.
It's funny movies. I love those movies.
No, I think they're pretty good.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Especially the first one with Robin Harris, you know.
Oh yeah, his dad. He takes the belt out on him. Pops.
What are you doing out here, sir? I'm minding my own fucking business. That's what I'm doing.
He's great. He's great. That's a good movies, man. Good times. Like I said, I watched the first 2 not too long ago. I've been meaning to bring them on because I watched the first 2, but I never finished the third one. Never got to it yet. Now I want to watch
Class Act. Crime. You know how to find you. Just follow the drip. Follow the drip. Don't act like you don't know who I am. Where is he at? Who? You know who. Every dad, when they come into a, oh god. Everything just dies. It's like, oh shit, somebody's dad's here.
It's good. It's good. It's good.
I love Robin Harris. He's fucking test tube baby.
Wasn't he Baby's kid? Wasn't that who?
Yes, that's he isn't in it, but he was dead by then. But they made that movie off of his.
I was gonna say,
Baby's kids. He had a whole. That's where Test Tube Baby comes from. Yeah. He goes, you got those some women where they just have all kinds of kids, and everybody's kids are baby's kids. Show up, be like, yeah, those are their kids. Who's those kids? That's baby's kids.
She got some
damn test tube babies.
Classic.
They don't die, they multiply. Yes, that's where the animated movie came from. Was
yes, I thought so. I thought so.
It was actually more of a tribute, I guess, to him, even though they use his stand-up stuff. He's obviously was gone before they even did it.
Yeah.
Like by a couple of years at that point. Because he died between House Party 1 and 2.
Yeah, and that's why like in the second one is Miss You Pops.
They dedicate it to him.
Yeah.
And he had a heart attack, I believe. Yeah, he was only like, I want to say his late 40s or early 50s. He was not very old. Let me
find out real quick. That's what I was about to say. Let's find out real quick. Let's see. 36.
Born in 53. Yeah, he was not very old. So he wasn't even in his 40s. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was really young.
Sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's too bad.
That sucks.
Yep, heart attack.
Mm-hmm.
He's a funny motherfucker.
Yeah, he was hilarious. He does make that first movie.
Man, I ran some videos. I ran a Dolomite. You like Dolomite? He was brought up on it.
It's good. It's good. I did believe Play even went on to become a preacher or something at one point in time.
Something like that. And actually now he does a lot of producing, believe it or not. You've probably heard his music and not even known it. He actually does all the music for like Real Time with Bill Maher and stuff like that. So he does like theme stuff. I want to say he did. Was it like, I can't remember if it was Who Wants to Be a Millionaire or something. He's done a bunch of them like that now. So you've heard him, you just don't even realize it. But he's under Christopher Reed in the credits.
Yeah.
So you got to look for Christopher Reed. And actually, he's been getting more into directing and producing, I think, too, on top of it all.
Huh.
So I think he's done a lot for the Bill Maher show.
Really? I wouldn't have pegged that for Bill Maher, for Bill Maher.
No, I know, but look in the credits. He's all over the credits now, yeah.
That's funny. And
I
it's
think
funny
even in
also,
the early credits, I think he was actually listed as Christopher Kid Reed still, but now I think he's just Christopher Reed. But yeah,
Christopher Reed.
Reed with a D, so like Christopher Reeve, but Reed, R-E-I-D or whatever.
I think it was that's the Christopher Reed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he does all kinds of shit now. They actually had a cameo in that remake, I guess.
Did they? Ooh.
Yeah. I don't know who they actually play in it or whatever, but
yeah. It's funny. It's like Christopher Reed also was became a voice actor at one point in time too, which is funny because you were talking about their cartoon, and now he's done a bunch of kids like cartoon shows and stuff.
They're in the cartoon, but they don't do the voices of themselves, and you can fucking tell.
That's sad.
Especially him, because you can tell his voice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little easier. The guy doing Play is not so bad, but
yeah,
it took me a few minutes to figure out it wasn't Play, but you could tell it was not Kid right away. But yeah, he's done all kinds of voice work I see here.
Yeah. This was funny because I was thinking about
maybe he hasn't done as much music. Maybe he's just doing more other stuff, but like he's got Real Time, Celebracabrica or whatever the hell that is. I don't know. But yeah, I see what you did here. He's done a bunch of stuff as far as like, oh, that's right. He had that cameo in Pauly Shore's Dead as well. I forgot about that. A bunch of other little things he's done here and there. Well, good for him. Good for him.
Yeah.
I don't know what Play's been up to, but
that's what I was saying. I think Play became a preacher at one point in time.
Maybe it's Play that did. Yeah, I think you're right.
He was one that became like a preacher, a priest, or something like that. Sort of said like almost the same thing that would happen with Salt and Pepper, because one of them went on to become like a religious leader as well. But I think they're back together now. So
he's still acting too. I think you're right, because he was in a bunch of looks like religious films here. Church Folks, Jesus Saves, stuff like that. So you're probably right.
Which is funny because out of the two, he was like the most like he was like the most of the one that was causing most of the trouble and doing was a lot of the more bad stuff compared to the kid who was like the goody, smart kid who was he was getting in trouble because of Play, because he kept saying, come on, Play, you come to the party, we'll do this, we'll do that, so that's pretty funny.
I'm sure those characters are very much archetypal.
Oh yeah,
they play the same characters in Class Act basically too, just to the nth degree,
and then they switch them.
Yeah, I mean, they just to the extreme, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, Rook has no clue because he's never seen them, so he's not going to talk about them.
He probably has no clue who Kid and Play even are.
Probably not.
Zero clue.
They were famous before the Fresh Prince was like Will Smith.
Yeah.
Like Kid is a lot like Will Smith. They played a lot of the same kind of character in the like Fresh Prince is very similar to Kid.
Yeah.
I see.
It was like the rap before it became 90s gangster hardcore rap.
Okay. It's the before time. Gotcha.
Yeah. It's just like one of my I'm not a huge Family Guy fan, but one of my jokes that they have that's pretty funny is like when Peter comes across like 80s rappers like Kid and Play, he's like, oh, look, it's the 80s rappers. And then like the 90s rappers show up and he goes, run 80s rappers, it's the 90s rappers. They're going to kill you.
That was the 80s ones like, hello there, kids. Let's do something.
No, they were
now
just like,
and let's
it wasn't
not
all
have
about
a
like,
cow. Like,
no, it wasn't.
They were
about,
a little bit more. They were a little bit more clean cut, but they weren't as clean cut as Fresh Prince. Was my point.
Yeah,
especially with these movies, you could tell. But yeah,
they would cuss and stuff like that, but it wasn't always about like.
Not on the record so much from my memory, though. Like they wouldn't really cuss even on the record so much. Like, but the movies, they were able to be a little bit more risque.
Edgier.
But
yeah,
maybe they did a little later. I'm trying to remember.
I'm trying to imagine what an 80s version of Eminem would be.
That was Vanilla Ice.
Beastie Boys.
Well, in reality, probably more like the Beastie Boys. But yeah,
Beastie
like
Boys,
as far as popularity, Vanilla Ice.
Vanilla Ice, yeah.
That was for only a hot minute.
He lied to us all. Vanilla Ice lied to us all. He said, yo, if there's a problem, I'll solve it. Where you at, Vanilla Ice?
Shit.
He didn't solve it. Look where we're at. We got some problems.
Yeah. We got one more movie to discuss. What is it?
Oh yeah, it's my turn. Speaking of sort of like in the vein of American Pie, um, I have Fuck Shout Factory Private School, starring
Oh,
Phoebe
I haven't got
Cates
that one yet.
and Betsy Russell and Matthew Modine. This is sort of like the American graffiti of the '80s. So yeah,
Yeah, I think I've seen it a long ass time ago, but it's been years.
Betsy Russell bareback on a horse. Oh, just saying. It's a great scene, by the way. Yeah, essentially, this is like we talked about sort of like the American Pie. That's like the black version. This is like American Pie before American Pie, but it's women focused, sort of. Like the women want to have sex. Of course, the guys do too. Because they're still like the guys that are trying to get into the girls' pants and sneak into the girls' dorm and all that. But the girls want to have sex as well. It's one of those '80s raunchy comedies, like that you more than likely saw on Up All Night, USA Up All Night, and stuff like that. But yeah, the plot of the movie is basically sort of like Animal House, but it's more like skits, really. Whereas these girls at the private school, you got Phoebe Cates and her roommate, are like the goody girls, and but Phoebe Cates wants to go all the way with her boyfriend, played by Matthew Modine in this, and like him and his buddies are like the guys that keep trying to sneak in and take a peek at the girls. Betsy Russell plays like the snobby bitchy girl who's super hot and is always showing her tits, trying to get the guys. And so it's just like sort of skits one after another, to where it leads to what's going to happen. Are they going to go all the way and all that? So that's essentially the plot of it. It's from Shout Factory. It's well worth it. I think it was a really good movie, and it's like I said, they really don't make movies like this anymore. They really don't, and they probably couldn't get away with it today if they wanted to. So, but yeah, that's my final movie. I know you haven't seen it, and I know Tom said he hadn't had it, so I figured there's not much. And I had just sort of recently talked about this on my last stream I did. So
I gotcha. Yeah, I don't have any commentary on that one. So, yeah.
It's good. This Blu-ray is good. It looks really good on this Blu-ray from Shout Factory. It's just a fun movie. It's just a really fun movie. I had a blast with it. Yeah. And, I mean, you can't beat it when the movie ends with when the girls graduate and all the girls stand up, pull up their gowns, and flash their asses. That's how the movie ends.
You should open with that.
That's how the movie ends. So it's fun. It's fun. So yeah. And one of the reasons I watched it was like I had Jason Benet, who works for Delirium Magazine, who interviewed Betsy Russell, who's in this movie. She's that plays the bad girl, and she would told him a story about how she was talking to Phoebe Cates, and Phoebe Cates told her, when you do this nude scene, because she does this nude scene in the movie where she's riding this horse and they take her top off and she's just like slow motion riding the horse with her boobs bouncing, right? And Phoebe Cates, the star of the movie, said, when you do this nude scene, people that you haven't heard of in years are going to show up. And Betsy was like, okay, I don't know what you mean by that, but okay. She said, sure enough, on the day of the scene when she was shooting that, like people she had worked with as a waitress and stuff were just all standing around the set because it was an open set. She's like, people she hadn't seen in years were just literally showing up to watch this scene in the movie. Didn't film it. So she said, which was what I really thought was cool. She said, I was 19 years old. I had probably the best body I was ever going to have. And I had no qualms in doing this because I wanted it on film. She's become this very memorable character in the movie. And she said, I did my job and I wanted it on film for preservation that I looked this fucking good. So
we need actresses that think like this these days.
So she had no problem with doing it at that time. And most people know Betsy. For those who don't, most people know Betsy Russell as the wife of Jigsaw from the Saw movies. She plays his wife. Now that she's older. Yeah, but she was in a bunch of movies like that back in the day. So yeah, I do recommend it. If you've not seen Private School, if you like those type of movies, I recommend it. It's pretty fun. It's funny. It's got some moments, and It's got some heart to it. It's not just all about chicks going topless and stuff like that. It's got some
right next to the titties is also where you can find the heart.
There's heart to it. There's a love story and everything. So, yeah. Yes, it's an outstanding attitude that she had. It's a very outstanding attitude. So, yeah. But there you guys have it. There was my final pick of the night. I think we had a decent show tonight. Tom and I think, had some good picks. Rookie, you had one good pick.
Correct. Correct.
So with that being said, I appreciate you guys. Thank you, Tom and Rook, for hanging with us. Make sure you guys sub to their channels and check them out. And to everybody out in the chat and everybody watching at home, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for sticking with us as always. And you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
How you doing? Bitches leave.